Hello.
Hey
Hello.
everyone.
Welcome to our Wisconsin Supreme Court election coverage.
So, for those of you that may not be as closely following this until tonight, there are four candidates to keep track of and on the ballot in tonight's nonpartisan Wisconsin Supreme Court primary election. Two liberal aligned, two Republican aligned. One is Janet Protasiewicz. She is, I really hope I'm saying that right. She is the front runner on the liberal side and probably will pull the highest percentage of the vote tonight. The second liberal candidate is Everett Mitchell of Dane County. And he is a more minor candidate in the race, but we expect him to pull about 7 to 10% of the vote either way. Then on the Republican side, there's considerably more uncertainty about who will advance. We're pretty confident that one of them will. It's almost certain that one of them will, but we don't know which one between Daniel Kelly and Jennifer Doro. Now, if Daniel Kelly sounds familiar to you, that may be because he was the one that was appointed to the Wisconsin Supreme Court in 2016 and lost election to Jill Karofsky in 2020, I think, right?
That's
Right.
right, with the Democratic turnout from the presidential primary helping
Correct.
buoy.
Lost by 10 points, too. So,
Correct. And so where we come down with this is results are about to drop in a little bit as polls, I believe, have just closed in Wisconsin. But Doro and Kelly have essentially annihilated each other on the airwaves, and Kelly has had the most spending and I think slightly more ad time than Doro. Doro has the most endorsements from, establishment Wisconsin folks and has slightly more candidate fundraising, which, as we know, gives you cheaper rates when you're trying to buy TV advertisements. So it helps dampen the disparity between her and Daniel Kelly in fundraising, especially because most of Kelly's fundraising and spending comes from outside investments in POCs. Kelly is significantly more conservative. If you were to think of like a Trump DeSantis alignment here, Kelly would probably be the Trump guy. He is exceptionally conservative, to say the least, and he's openly criticized members like Brian Hagedorn quite heavily. So he is probably the more Trumpist conservative candidate in the race. And I would probably say the easier target for Democrats to defeat in the April election. Now, as some of you may already know, the candidate that wins the April election, this is the nonpartisan primary to advance, the candidate that wins in April will determine control of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. If Democrats win it, they'll take control, and this may cause redistricting of the legislature and the congressional maps. And if Republicans win it, they will probably end up cementing control of the Wisconsin Supreme Court for some time to come.
right.
That's right. That's those are the stakes Wisconsin voters are riding on right now, which is why this round and the next round are both pretty important races to watch, um, especially in an off year when there's not much else to watch for the first half of the year until we get to the gubernatorial and legislative elections in other states around the country.
Right. And we've already seen Democrats have a pretty exceptional night in terms of special election performances tonight. In New Hampshire, Democrats overperformed in a House and one seat and managed to narrow the gap in the state house. And in Kentucky as well, they overperformed by, I believe, 24 points or something like that in a safely Democratic legislative district. And of course, in Virginia's 4th congressional district, we saw Jennifer McClellan outrun Joe Biden and, of course, also Donald McEachin, the late incumbent from 2022. And I'll be having some numbers out on that later, but it's interesting if you look at the Virginia's 4th congressional district returns that we've seen tonight, and you can generally line up the CVAP or the racial voting statistics with the decline in turnout that we've seen. And the usual problem in the coastal plain for Democrats these last few cycles has been black turnout not being sufficient, and it's caused Republicans to punch above their weight. This time we saw the opposite. Dinwiddie, Southampton, Republicans, rural white Republicans, did not come to the polls tonight. And that's responsible, at least in part, for McClellan's strong overperformance of Joe Biden, but it doesn't discount completely from her victory.
Yeah. And what I would also say is, especially after the 2022 elections, I saw a lot of takes from a lot of people saying, what can Democrats do about the Black voter turnout problem? Is it a long term problem, or is it a temporary thing that they will eventually rebound with in 2024? At the time, I said that this
Hang
is
on, we have some. Sorry, I hate to interrupt you, but we do have one precinct in from Dane County. Um, Unsurprisingly, or rather, a bit surprisingly, the Republican or conservative candidates combined for about 45%. But again, this is just one of Dane County's 262 precincts.
is that on
But
the
this is
outer?
still.
It's
That's outer
probably one
Dane.
of the more Republican precincts.
I will send it in the chat if you'd like to verify it. It's in it's from the Dane County Elections Board
Do we have a
website.
township, perhaps, to identify it with? Because Dane County has 2 Republican townships in 2020.
Yeah, and I just wonder if it's from
Let me
there or
see.
not.
I
I
have
mean,
to
most of
download
the
an
county
Excel
is
file.
very much safely Democratic, but
It is from
Dane, perhaps?
Medina Town, Medina Township.
Oh, Medina Township was the, I think, third or fourth most Republican township, but it still voted for Biden. Let me check the atlas so I can get my numbers straight and see.
But yeah, I think
Medina was
those
only
numbers.
slightly Biden, correct?
I'm checking. If I remember correctly, it was, I think, the third reddest.
And on the New York Times live map, there's also
Yes,
a
it
county
was. Okay.
result from Wood County. I think that's the Republican candidates combining for 60.7% of the vote with 6% of the votes in. So we're dealing with really minuscule fractions of what we can expect to be the full county vote. But
Pretty
as the votes come
small.
in, it looks like Kelly is leading Doro in that Wood County drop. But in the Dane County drop, they're tied exactly with, I think, 24 votes
Right.
each.
And Wood was Trump plus
62 votes.
19. So just for reference for the viewers.
What was the breakdown in Medina Township?
Medina Township was Biden plus half a point.
So that's
Okay.
a 6-point overperformance for the Democratic candidates in the 2023 primary. So if it's Biden plus 0.5, and I believe, Leon, from the numbers that you sent, it looks
One
like
precinct, though, right? Just the
yeah,
town.
correct.
Yep, one precinct. The Republicans are combining for 44.7,
Oh,
44.8% of the vote. So this is actually a 11
10
point
point. Yeah,
over
11-point overperformance. Okay.
performance. But again, this is just one precinct,
One
and who
precinct,
knows
that
if
can
it's the
change.
entire result of that precinct.
And Leon, check the messages.
Um, I oh okay. I guess
And we have returns also from Oconto County, which is up in northeastern Wisconsin, above Green Bay, across the strait from Door County. This is another big one. It was a Trump plus 41 county, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
And
And
conservative.
right now, again, I would say it's just way too early to make any extrapolations, because right now we're seeing a 64 or 62 38 Democratic edge. But again, I don't, or Republican edge. But again, I don't think that's predictive of anything yet, right? It's not. We're consistently seeing in the earliest returns the Democrats run slightly ahead of Biden's benchmarks in 2020, all of which would point to Democrats winning. There's no real winner here aside from the two that advanced. Democrats probably combining to get about 50, a shade above 52, 53% in the 2A primary if these were all to hold. But again, way too early to tell. We'll get some more signals really soon.
Yes, very early. Combined conservative line candidates are about 62% in Oconto, which would be again it would be in line with what we've seen with underperforming Trump's margins slightly. And one of the things that's interesting to keep in mind is I could see this playing out, especially if you have someone, well, really either candidate, but I could very much see the Supreme Court election playing out similarly to the gubernatorial race that Tony Evers won last time, which got a D plus 3.6 victory. I think Democrats would have a chance to do better than that. But I think it's a much better baseline than 2020 president. And so, especially that, and also the turnout differential between 2022 governor and 2020 president. I think it's something that I'm going to be taking into account looking at these counties tonight, not just the presidential results, but the results from the midterm as well.
Now, do we have any Milwaukee results?
I don't think so.
I checked about a minute ago. No, so far. I can refresh the page again. Yep, still nothing. 0 of the 529 wards counted and 0 votes cast. So,
and I'm sure most of our viewers have a pretty good working knowledge of these states because they're interested in this stuff. But for those who don't know, the 3 biggest parts of Wisconsin that you want to follow on any given election night: Milwaukee and Dane. Dane is home to Madison, University of Wisconsin, trending Democratic like a rocket ship. Very much a place you want to watch. And then for Republicans, historically, the WOW counties, Waukesha, Washington, and Ozaukee County. And although the WOW have actually been trending to the left, we saw it in 2022, did in 2020, especially Waukesha, still the Republican bulwark in terms of suburban and ex-suburban Republican support outside of Milwaukee, and definitely supplements the margins that Republicans have been getting in the Wisconsin rules, which are better than they were, say, a decade and a half ago. But compared to rules in other states, Democrats still punch above their weight with rural and working class white voters in Wisconsin. So that's something that's interesting about the state.
I believe we have first
Yeah.
Milwaukee results.
oh, we haven't?
We have some. Yes, it is the county. For reference, the county was 70-30, I believe, for right. I think it was 70-30 for Biden.
Correct.
9-29, so 70-30 in two-way vote share, and we are seeing an 80-20 split for the Democrats in the earliest returns. Now, again, it's difficult for us to project too much, given that we don't know where the votes are really from. You know, different parts of Milwaukee vote slightly differently from each other. But again, across Wisconsin right now, we are consistently seeing Democrats slightly exceed Biden's margins in the early returns. So let's keep track of what's going to happen.
We've got some Waukesha results as well. Conservatives
Really?
are combining for 67% of the vote, and Doro predictably is in the lead with 46%. Again, small portion of Waukesha. For reference, Trump got 60% of the vote there. Michael's got about the same in the 2020 gubernatorial election, 2022 gubernatorial election.
Yeah, and for context, we do expect that Dora would overperform in Waukesha because she is the judge from Waukesha County. Additionally, she has some slightly deeper ties to the state GOP, and she's been endorsed by the retiring justices. So if you were to see an establishment boost, that would probably come in Waukesha for Doro. Question for her is, how does she do in the rest of the state compared to Kelly? And is that going to be enough to fend him off? I personally don't think so. I still think Kelly is the slightest of favorites to advance, but it's just basically a coin flip.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of uncertainty there, but we did just get early Brown County returns too. That's Green Bay. So one of the state's smaller metros, but very much important to watch.
Yeah. Now, one thing I will say also is that we can basically call that Janet. I mean, I would be comfortable saying Janet Protasiewicz will advance to the November general. Looking at these results, the trend of results coming in, it's basically Mitchell's not getting anywhere near the numbers he needs, and that doesn't mean anything in and of itself. But we can be confident that that's going to happen.
Yeah, we don't have any of the city of Madison in yet, but either way, winning the city of Madison comfortably, which is still a possibility for Mitchell, although I'm not sure how likely it is, would not be enough to put him over the line or to stop Protasevich
No,
from
it,
advancing. So you're right.
it would not be, and I've calculated that it would not be enough for this. Mitchell, even if he wins the city of Milwaukee, Madison comfortably, which I think I think he'll come closer to that than people believe. I don't think it's going to be enough because what we're seeing here, basically spelling it out, Doro and Kelly are generally running about even in the votes right now. It's very close to each other in every place around across a range of geographic areas. What we are seeing is, Kelly and Doro are closer than not to each other. The only place where there's an asymmetric overperformance is Waukesha, which we had expected from the start. But what it tells you is that both of them are comfortably exceeding Mitchell. And they're also taking too much of the vote individually for us to think that they could potentially knock Protasiewicz down from the top spot. So,
And the city of Madison only accounted for about half of Dane County's total vote in the last two
correct.
elections. So it's not unimportant, but it's also not the deal breaker, the silver bullet.
One emerging trend I'm seeing is that Doro is only ahead of Kelly, seemingly, at this moment because of the large amount of votes from Waukesha County.
Right.
In other counties, especially out in the more rural areas, Kelly is getting a substantially more votes than Doro. And if that trend holds, I would say Kelly is currently slightly favored. I wouldn't be comfortable in making a call, but um, as more votes come in, I think the expectation is going to be a runoff between Protasevich and Kelly.
The one interesting thing I'd like to mention is one of the doubts that I kind of had, and I'll say kind of because I was very torn on this decision too when we went with Kelly over Doro was, well, it's still a nonpartisan primary, so that adds some element of extra variance into it. But at the end of the day, the voters are still intuitive enough to know which candidates would represent them as if it were a typical Republican primary. And so I think that what some people have said about this primary being similar to the 2022 gubernatorial primary between Michaels and Clayfish, I think that that has a decent chance of holding up tonight. I think that Doro will end up doing better relative to the other candidates in Waukesha than Clayfish did against Michaels in Waukesha. I think she only won Waukesha by about 8 points. But you should see something pretty defined in that sense where she's going to be doing better in blue counties like Milwaukee and Dane, winning the WOW and the rules and everything else in the state for Michaels, or in this case for Kelly. I think that's a possibility.
Yeah. So currently, if you're keeping with our spreadsheet that we're sharing, or at least I hope we're sharing, is that Doro's ahead by about 900 votes. I'm sorry, 9,000 votes, but the vast majority of these are coming from an 11,000 margin out of Waukesha County. If Dora hopes to win, based on the sort of geographic coalition that's building up, I would expect her to hope to get similar margins out of other urban or suburban counties in the WOW area.
Yes, it's interesting because if you look at the last gubernatorial primary, I mean, Clayfish won Waukesha and Ozaukee County, but you would have expected her to do better in Washington. Washington, of course, more exurban, a little bit more working class than its two counterparts. But um, I think tonight Doro should be able to win the whole WOW. It'll be interesting to see whether or not she pulls that off. But there's definitely a clear difference between the WOW counties and Kenosha and Racine. And you can see that already playing out here because Vertazowicz is winning in Racine in Kenosha. Sorry, Kenosha's in not Racine, but Kelly is critically ahead of Doro there. So we're seeing very similar dynamics, and it shows you that even though this is ostensibly a nonpartisan primary, it doesn't necessarily operate under nonpartisan dynamics, at least not to the extent that some of us might have thought. WOW stands for Washington, Ozaukee, and Waukesha County, the triumvirate there.
So I'm also comfortable now putting on the account that Protasiewicz has advanced, and I think we can also rule out Mitchell confidently from the results with 99% certainty, which is my benchmark to make a call. So now it really comes down to Doro or Kelly, and we are not going to get a decision on that for quite some time.
Correct. Yeah, we
Although
really
I would say
waited.
the sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm done. Sorry.
Uh, I was going to say the weather vane is sort of, in my mind, clearly blowing in Kelly's direction. Kenosha is giving Kelly a lead over Doro, and that's not what Doro would like to see, given what we've established to be a pattern in the rural counties. With the latest New York Times drop, the gap between Doro and Kelly continues to narrow.
Correct. And as I mentioned previously, connecting this to the gubernatorial primary, other than Waukesha and then very Democratic counties like Milwaukee and Dane, um, Doro is behind Kelly, as far as I can tell, in all of the outstate counties at the moment. Just double checking that, but I believe it is true. Yes, correct. So some of the redder counties of the state, like Oconto, Forest, Barron, Kelly's just leading outright. Um, in some of the other counties that we would expect Republicans to win that are not quite as Republican, because the Republican vote is so split right now, if you want to call it that, among the Republican aligned candidates, Protasewicz is ahead in those counties. But if you look at the second and third place spots, Doro is usually going to be behind Kelly in third place.
Which is another sign that points towards Kelly's increasingly, in my opinion, probable victory into a runoff election against Protasevich.
Correct. Once Waukesha is done reporting, has reported most of its votes, that'll be the proving time for Kelly. And I think that's when we're going to see him take the lead gradually over Doro as the rest of the rural counties come in.
Now, here's an interesting factual tidbit. Bayfield County, which broke for Evers by 16%, is currently coming in at D plus 53 with 40% of precincts reporting. This is Bayfield County is located in the north of the state. Um, I think it's the northern or second northernmost county. So this is quite close to Minnesota's Iron Ranges. If you want to have a um, geographic corollary for this sort of area.
We also have numbers out of Portage as well, which is one of the more populated counties in Wisconsin's third district. And Protasewicz is predictably ahead there at the moment with 50%. Only a few votes coming in right now from Portage County or Portage County, but we'll be waiting. That's one of the ones we would watch. Similarly, La Crosse County is also reporting significantly larger amount of votes at the moment.
Okay. I think I finally figured out how to pronounce her name. It's Protasewicz. So that's what we're going to go with. I had to look up the phonetic spelling of it.
Yeah, I'm not good with Polish
I'm
names.
not a.
I'm really not good with Polish names. I feel very bad about it. I am trying to learn. Okay. So, does anyone know which types of ballots are in from Waukesha?
I can check directly from the county website.
Thanks.
From what I could immediately glance, it's not telling you which type of ballot it is, whether it's mail-in or not. It's just telling you which precinct is coming in.
Do we
And I have a
know how many
feeling
from the city of Milwaukee? Because the city of Milwaukee generally reports elections last or results last in a lot of these races, and I wonder if that's the same here.
I still see nothing from the county website.
Okay.
So 0 votes, technically. Since the spreadsheet you can see on this live stream is coming directly from the county websites and not a aggregator like the New York Times. I still haven't added anything from Milwaukee County because, simply put, I don't see anything on their county website at the moment.
Madison is finally reporting, yes.
Let's see. I think we should have a couple completed counties at the very least. I would be surprised if we don't.
If there's a completed county, let me know so I can.
I mean, Eau Claire is basically completed, is it not? The New York Times says 95% of votes in for Eau Claire. And over there, Dems are up 65-35. Now, Eau Claire was Evers 58-41. So that's an interesting overperformance. I'm not yet certain that Eau Claire is actually done, though. I feel like the New York Times is lowballing their turnout estimates just a little bit.
Yeah, what they have here is 86 out of 90 precincts reporting.
Okay,
I
so
don't
we
know.
got 4 precincts left to go still.
Yeah, but the odds that they're conservative enough to shift the current breakdown of the race is not very likely.
No, they'll just determine the scale of the overperformance.
Yeah. In
That's
other
right.
news, though, who would we rather be between Kelly and Doro? Because I think it's pretty comfortably tilting Kelly's way.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
look
would
at
say
the
definitely Kelly.
look at this middle column between Kelly and Doro. You can see
Yeah.
in most of these maybe outstate, if you'd like to call it that, counties, Kelly's leading Doro by a comfortable margin. The only place where it comes the other way is in Waukesha County, where you have a blowout for Doro.
And Washington is looking like it'll go that way too. Washington and Ozaukee, which I'm mispronouncing, but that's fine. But again, those 3 counties alone, depending on how much you win them, are not going to be enough to account for the votes from the entire out state. Which is why, even though we're waiting, and this is a comparatively fast count, I would not be surprised if the momentum turned decidedly in Kelly's favor, since it's already moving that direction at a good clip.
Now, on the count, you may see Doro gaining, but that's just because of how quickly Waukesha County is counting their votes. They're at 93% of wards reported.
And Washington is also nearly complete. I believe they're about 90% reporting.
Are you going by New York Times estimates? Because I think the New York Times estimates are just wrong.
Yes.
You mean what I?
No, those vote numbers are way too low to possibly be 95%. It just does not make sense.
The numbers I'm citing are from the county websites themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, it's where it says precincts reported.
Because like I'll give you an example, right? Eau Claire has I think 12,000 votes cast. And, I don't think the primary is that low turnout. Just for comparison, November saw, I believe, 48,000 votes cast. And obviously, you don't expect anywhere close to that number, but turnout rate of 25% seems a little bit low to me.
I'd say it's possible that when they say precincts reported, it's not actually like fully counted, but it's just a preliminary result out of that precinct. But again,
it's possible.
we're just gonna have to wait.
Normally I feel like precincts reported is complete.
Oh, I have some votes out of Milwaukee County. Not really listing much in terms of.
Welcome.
Oh
Armin.
wait, they're almost done. It's wow, 94% of wards reporting.
In where?
Okay, Milwaukee.
Oh, wow.
I think. Sorry.
94% of wards in Milwaukee reporting?
Would you like the link?
Yes, please.
Well, in that case, it depends on how big the Democratic aligned candidate bulwark can be before the rest of the rules come in. Right now, it's pretty big.
That looks like 66%.
We could end up hitting the 52 whatever percent threshold for Democratic aligned candidates at the end of the night, assuming Milwaukee is on the tail end. We've also got more votes counted for Madison. So
here's another county where Doro is leading Kelly by a significant margin, but the question is, how much of the state is this section where Doro outperforms Kelly going to be compared to the what apparently seems to be the rest of the state, especially the rural areas, which seem to be strongly favoring Kelly over Doro. Doro, by my count, leads by 33,000 votes, which is not something to shake a stick at. But again, I feel as though the consensus should be that what's left to count would be in Kelly's favor.
Okay.
what are your thoughts, Armin?
Armin, unmute yourself.
No, his headphones are broken as usual. We have this problem every time.
Every time. It's like I'm FaceTiming with my grandma.
It's kind of what it's like. Okay, Armin, I'm going to buy you some new headphones.
Armin, unplug your headphones. All right. Oh, man. Sometimes I wonder, for a group where I'm the oldest person at 26, it really doesn't feel that way. Anyways, so is La Crosse completed? La Crosse County?
I can.
I don't think it's finished yet from what I last checked.
Okay.
I don't think Portage or La Crosse are finished.
Okay, Eau Claire is completed now. And there were just a few more
La
votes.
Crosse is almost finished.
Okay.
Almost.
Eau Claire, meanwhile, is done. We have about 16,000 or 14,000 votes from there. So slightly above the 12,000 figure that the New York Times had. Actually, quite a bit above now that you think about it. But Democrats and liberal aligned candidates have combined for about 65% of the vote there. For comparison, Tony Evers in Eau Claire got 58%. Ron Johnson got 44%. Mandela Barnes got 56%. So 56% for Barnes, 58% for Evers, and for Joe Biden, 54%.
Looks like a liberal overperformance to me.
Yes. I just kind of feel like they're still lowballing this, but maybe not.
How do you mean by lowballing?
Oh, no, lowballing the turnout estimates here, because I'm going off of DDHQ also.
Yeah, what I saw from Eau Claire's county website is they still have 4 precincts remaining.
4 precincts will not change the vote total that much.
Yeah.
How many precincts are in the county?
It said 90.
Yeah, 4 precincts will maybe add about another 1,000 votes, 1,200 votes. It's not going to change that much.
Yeah.
Leon, do you have a list with links for the different county results?
Yeah, I've been operating on that. Let me share it.
Yeah, because it's a bit difficult to pull all of them on There we go. Perfect.
You got it?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Great.
Okay. Welcome, Armin.
All right, I'm back. Is it better now?
Yes. Yes.
Good. Okay.
Oh, a lot of votes out of Brown, but they're still only at 20% reporting.
So the latest returns published, published 3 minutes ago from Winnebago. I thought this was interesting, but they've got 65 out of 75 precincts reporting. And from what I can tell here, if you look at the composite vote between the R and D aligned candidates, it's very, very similar to what we saw in the last gubernatorial election, where Michaels ended up winning Winnebago by 0.9. I believe right now it's roughly 51-49 in favor of the conservative aligned candidates in Winnebago, which would be the same margin.
Same margin as whose?
As the 2022 gubernatorial election.
Okay.
But then again, as we've learned multiple times, overperformances are not going to be uniform. So again, it's not something that we should expect in every county, especially with incomplete results.
I believe Bayfield should be done also. Way up north.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
where we
Some of
saw
the iron
pretty,
range equivalents.
Yeah.
pretty strong
Once again, a tremendously
overperformance,
strong
if you will.
performance for Democrats. Yeah, for context, Evers won Bayfield by 17. Mandela Barnes won it by 12. And the Democrats appear to be winning it, unless I'm misreading.
They're
winning
up
it by
by
40.
70 right now, or they got 70%. So
They are
yes.
winning this by 40 points. Yes. Wow.
And Bayfield is fully in.
Bayfield is
We still have a few precincts remaining.
almost fully in. It's not fully in.
That's right.
But it is almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
There aren't
even the
enough precincts left.
inland Bayfield townships, they're not that red, so it's going to be high 60s probably.
Most likely.
I mean, we're tracking for what, 35% turnout in this primary?
Yeah.
I think that's what my
That
bench is.
sounds
There's a rough
about
estimate.
right.
New York Times just called for, I hate to say it, but I forgot how to
Protasewicz?
pronounce her name properly.
Potatsowitz?
Protasewicz?
Protasewicz, yeah.
Yes.
Protasewicz.
Her. Yep. Once again, now pivoting to the conservatives in the race, Doro and Kelly, we can now safely say Mitchell is completely eliminated, as we've said from 20 minutes ago. I still think that it is pointing quite strongly towards Kelly. All throughout the conservatives areas outside the WOW areas, outside the Waukesha, Ozaki, Washington, the suburbs of Milwaukee, we're seeing Kelly quite strongly outperform Doro. And I think these margins are going to be enough for him to overcome the buffer, the firewall that Waukesha and the Milwaukee suburbs in general provide Doro.
Agreed. Yeah, especially because the further north you go, Kelly is outpacing Doro at 2-1, 3-1 margins, and those will add up in all of those small counties.
It also depends how well she ends up doing in WoW in general, because if her performance is only on par with someone like Clayfish in 2022, then that will obviously not be enough at all to stop it.
Now, with that said, if anyone is keeping track of the Wisconsin's 8th Senate District primary, the more conservative candidate, Jan Albrandt, has failed to advance, I think. So Dan Nodal will make the general election for Republicans, and that probably puts the seat away for them, because any chance Democrats had at winning this what was the seat? Evers or Michael's +4?
Mitchell's 4, I believe.
Mitchell's +4, yeah.
If you would like the exact numbers, that is available on Split Ticket's latest article previewing this spring primary election.
Yeah, well, the only chance of winning that race was if the more Trumpy candidate advanced. from the general election. For Republicans, that disaster seems to have been averted. We'll see how exactly the result plays out and where, how the November or the April election result looks. But Republicans can probably breathe easy that they are not about to blow a Johnson plus 8 seat to the Democrats.
Right, and obviously down ballot lag does come into play here, and you're going to have ticket splitting voters that are going to vote for Knut and then also vote for um, also vote for Protasevich.
Protasevich.
Yes, correct. Sorry, I had to pause for like 30 seconds there. But to continue my point, I think it's one that we, at the same time, we don't want to just completely brush it off the board, especially because we've seen Democrats overperform in special election after special election all across the country in seats of numerous different ethnic and socioeconomic backgrounds. And given the trends in the seat, even though we have strong down ballot lag and Republicans got the candidate they wanted, the fact that it will be occurring concurrent with the Supreme Court race, which Democrats are expected to do well in, especially because Kelly seems like he's going to advance. It's one that I would keep an eye on for potentially being closer than expected because we've seen weirder things happen before. And I think you're right, Laksha, but it'll be an interesting race still, which is going to be fun.
So, what would be our guess if we had to guesstimate the conservative liberal vote shares for tonight's Supreme Court primary? What would be our guess?
When everything is done,
Yeah, when all is said and done, what would you have it? I would probably go 54-46 for the liberals.
I think it'll be less than that because right now it's at 56, and there's still a good bit of rural votes out left. So I'd
I
say
think the initial estimate Laksha made with 52% is probably more accurate. But
yeah,
I
I'm
would say
going to say
53.
52 to
or
53.
53, yes, that's also good. Because
Well,
Milwaukee,
what I have to say is,
Refreshed. No, yeah, my dashboard just refreshed. I revised mine to 53. Some of the votes were lagging on the New York Times website.
right, and Madison's wrapping up. Milwaukee's mostly done. So Democrats have a great firewall right now, if we want to refer to it that way. And yeah, it should be enough to hold at 50, 52, 53-ish for sure. We'll see.
So Milwaukee still got 30 wards to report. I think that will, right now, Democrats combined for, I think, 68% there. And if I'm to guess, that will probably bump them up to 70, 71, the 30-ish wards left. I believe they're from the inner part of Milwaukee, which is very Democratic, I think, from what I can see. I could be wrong, but if that's the case, Democrats will probably end up at about 70, 71% of the vote there, which lines up well with Biden, 69%.
Yeah, 70 is a Dem win. So
yeah. With that said, Milwaukee is casting a pretty high portion of votes this time.
Well, as we saw in Virginia's 4th, a lot of rural voters just don't remember there's an election
happening.
They didn't know. I mean, it makes sense that Dinwiddie and Southampton, both of which had the largest shift, also had the largest drop off in turnout, also had the highest rural white population.
Now, how close do we think that this is going to end up being between Doro and Kelly?
I think Kelly will win convincingly.
Yeah, I was going to say that the minimum benchmark would be 2022 governor, but like I said earlier, I could easily see Kelly expanding off of that.
Yeah. It's just a little bit hard to compare these coalitions too, because their partisan alignment obviously isn't on the ballot. This is a nonpartisan office in theory. So sometimes you'll get these weird results, like, like you'll see way up north and in the drift list, you'll see Dems pulling some ridiculous 70% shares in counties where Biden got 55. And, it's tempting to read a lot into that, but it's also difficult because how much of that is due to just, the party label being shed, inducing maybe 3 to 4% of voters to vote the other way. Now, Harrison, I know you said voters are generally smart. They know who's aligned with what, and that is correct for the vast majority of voters. But if even 5% of voters are unsure or are willing to vote for someone else, as long as there's no partisan affiliation on the ballot, that does significantly change the margin.
Right. That was actually the point that I was somewhat making when I was originally thinking that, oh, maybe Doro would have an outside shot here in terms of finishing ahead of Kelly. And while it turns out to be looking a lot more like a traditional Trump era Republican primary coalition in Wisconsin, you are definitely right that there is variance involved, which is why, although it's interesting to map out the composition here in terms of the aligned candidates, it's not a perfect substitute. It's more of a heuristic for estimating partisan participation in this election. It's interesting, but like you said, there's variance involved. I would say at the minimum vote would be like the 2022 gubernatorial election. I don't think anyone would think Kelly is favored.
The counterpoint to what you guys said about Bayfield is Menominee County. Because if you add up Protasewicz and Mitchell, they're only at 56, 57% of the vote.
7, yeah.
When Biden got like 75% of the vote in the county. So cuts both ways, I guess.
Another interesting thing, I know Drew is posting about this, but a similar situation is Kenosha. The Demo-line candidates there are only at about 48.5%, which is basically exactly what Tony Evers got. Kenosha is a very, very polarized county to the point where it's one of those places where we would not expect the uniform overperformance theory to hold up in this election. There are going to be ups and downs, drags, outliers, things to observe. And that is one county that I would definitely put in that category. Another one that I think is interesting to put in the category is Winnebago. And I was mentioning Winnebago County earlier. If you actually look right now, the Liberals have 51% of the vote combined in Winnebago. And that was one of the counties where Evers almost won, but he ended up losing by a point. And I think it's interesting because that's in line with a slight overperformance. But again, it's not a uniform basis type thing. So compared to other parts of the state, the overperformance in Winnebago is small, but still significant. All in all, I think it plays into Lakshya's point. We cannot read too much into these things.
I did some Excel magic, and the current overperformance seems to be 3. Net 3 for the Republican, mostly off of Milwaukee's 10% overperformance, if you will, for the conservative aligned candidates. And you also see Kenosha and then 2 of the WOW counties putting in some good overperformances, if you will, for especially for Doro. I would imagine if Kelly wins, which seems probable at this point, that maybe a few of these Doro voters would intend to vote for Protasewicz.
Protasewicz, guys.
Protasewicz.
Yeah. And Armin, one of the commenters makes a really good point. No one in Menominee really voted. So I would be pretty hesitant to say anything about the coalitions there.
Oh, no, it's true. Like there's a very well-known
votes there at most
thing with Native Americans and nonpartisan elections that the turnout just drops dramatically. Like you saw this in the Navajo reservation in Utah too,
Yeah.
where the guy that ran for Congress got more votes than Evan McMullin did, just because, well, one, it's a small kind of out of the way place, but two, if you're not the Democrat, then a lot of people just won't vote for you.
Menominee also has a very small voting population, even in a presidential year. It's kind of like an analog for Florence, modern day Florence, that is, since Florence used to vote for the Democrats, but not anymore.
Oh yeah, Florence is like the reddest county in the state now.
It is. It's just a good analog, similar region, completely opposite in terms of demographics and voting patterns, but similar voting population, about 1,500 votes cast
Right.
in a presidential year like 2020.
So I wonder now, if Doro has a path, where is that going to come from? Because I am finding it increasingly difficult to see a way in which she hangs on.
Gotta
Yeah, I
be
don't think
through
it's possible.
Mills in the wow.
No, but they're
There
not
aren't enough votes
casting nearly
left.
as much of the vote as she would like, right? Waukesha is
And that's
combining.
why. And
Go on,
that's
Liam.
why I'm of the philosophy that, or mindset that Kelly's getting
Yeah,
very
logically
close to.
speaking, you would
There aren't enough
expect
votes left in the WoW.
you would expect Brown, Outagamie, and what's this last one, Winnebago, to be more at least amenable to Doro, but Kelly is destroying her there, so I don't really see where else she has the opportunity to make it up.
The only one left is Otsauki. That's the only one that's left. And
Ozaki is the smallest of the three, though,
yes,
I think.
exactly. So this continues to contribute to the point that really, Losh, to answer your question, there aren't enough votes left in the WoW.
Yeah, unless, of course, there's a batch of votes that no one has accounted for yet because turnout estimates are off. But I am more hesitant than not to say that.
Even so, there are just so many rural and small town counties that are still out that haven't reported yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Wisconsin GOP primaries haven't been won in WoW since 2014.
Yep. Back when they were casting 75% of the vote for Democrats or for Republicans, you could see that actually being the case. But now
Right.
those counties are, significantly more marginal. I believe Biden lost Waukesha by what exactly? He lost it by
22 or something like that.
20, right? Yeah. No, he lost it by 21. Yeah. And
Evers and
Ozaki,
Biden lost the county by almost the same margin.
yeah.
Oh, was that?
Clearwater or Eau Claire is completely in, with all 90 precincts reporting, and we have a 13% Democrat overperformance.
65% for the Dems. Christ.
Wow. And that is a 13% overperformance on Tony Evers, who won the state by 3.5 points. That really is something.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to find out what the final overperformance is, look to the actually rural counties. Like if you look at Sawyer and if you look at Price, the Dems are getting Obama 2012 numbers in a lot of these.
Yeah, this is and keep in mind this is with the Democrats having a less competitive primary than the Republicans. If you're a Republican voter in Wisconsin, you have more of a reason to turn out today than a Democrat voter would. And come April 4th, when both partisan camps have the same impetus to vote, you could probably lean towards a more liberal environment than what we're seeing tonight.
I do think now, if we were to make a read on the environment, which I know people are loath to do, and I would caution a lot, but I think between the sets of elections in different states, we can have a rough signal of the environment with high error bars. I would say, bluntly, one sentence, that's not what I would like to see if I was a Republican, because it's one thing to underperform in a nonpartisan primary, and I think right now Republicans are on track to get 47.5% of the vote here. Does that sound right?
sounds
Yeah.
about right. If anything, it's slightly more Republican than I would expect. I
Yeah, with
would
those
peg it at
numbers in Eau Claire,
D
honestly, you
plus
might.
6, 7 maybe.
Yeah, I'd revise 53 up to 54 for the Dems, honestly.
Okay, so basically, let's say, Republicans lose this by about 6 in the conservative liberal alignment. Now, you could say, if you're a Republican, hey, well, this is a nonpartisan election and primaries aren't predictive of the general, and it's fairly low turnout compared to a general election. All of those things are true. All of those statements are true. But then you take Virginia, where the Democrats overperformed Biden by 9, a Biden plus 36 seat, they won by 45. Then you take Kentucky, a Biden plus 31 seat, they won by 54, I think. And then you take, New Hampshire, where a Hassan plus 9 seat was won by 11 and flipped by the Democrats. And that was a tied seat in November. So again, the signals suggest a slightly more democratic environment than what was there in November. I would say that if, obviously they're not held now, but if the House election was held again today, Dems would probably have kept the House.
Yeah.
And if anything, possibly would have gained seats from 222, given the nature of some of these overperformances and where you're seeing now. It doesn't mean they'd have a 2018 repeat, by far, not at all, but it is saying that the midterm malaise in terms of Democrats, losing the popular vote, even though they had a better than expected performance, they lost the popular vote. The midterm malaise, so to say, looks to have passed. And if you're a Democrat, that's probably good news for two things. If it holds, which again, tenuous as to whether it does or not. If they can hold that for the Wisconsin general election, they'll be in very good shape in April. And then if the momentum continues, well, there will probably be a couple more battleground state legislature vacancies, maybe even in New Hampshire, where they're down by only 1 seat in the state house. And finally, and importantly, the Kentucky election, which is probably their best shot to keep a seat, where Andy Beshear goes up against maybe Daniel Cameron or whoever it is, but he's going to need all the luck he can get.
Yeah. At least from a Wisconsin perspective, if Eau Claire was at 65% Democratic in November, Derek Van Orden would not be a congressperson today.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, Iron County, a very small county in Wisconsin's north.
Oh, is it
again,
in fully?
Near the county website says 0 outstanding ballots, and Democrats won it. This is
okay, that's
Michels,
stupidly good.
Michels plus 20, 21, but winning it by 1.5%. That's a pretty big overperformance in Wisconsin's north.
Yes.
That's a Trump plus 22 county, but fair.
Yeah, it was Michaels and Trump plus 22 county. So
I think Obama won it in 2012 very narrowly, but I could be wrong.
he did. It hasn't voted Democratic for governor, though, since 2006.
Now, guys, if we were to assign a confidence interval based on our numbers of Kelly versus Doro, what would we say is a percentage chance that Kelly wins? I'm at about 90% Kelly. I think we need a bit more to confidence.
95.
I'm with you. I'd say go for 96 or something, but yeah.
I'd agree with Leon that I'd put it closer to 95.
Okay.
I'm almost ready to...
Because even if you're undershooting actual turnout in the WOW, it still wouldn't be enough.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
I'm almost ready to call it.
Let's wait for a couple more drops and we can call it. I'm seeing your numbers now once again, and I'm starting to agree with you more and more here. This is very close to callable for Kelly.
We can wait for Wazowski, and then we can call it.
We don't need to be first. We just need to be right.
We need to be correct, yes. Overall, though, I think what you're seeing that's defining the environment we're right now is Democratic enthusiasm is still very much high across the board. And I think the malaise has fully set in for Republican voters, those who haven't been persuaded to vote for Democrats either last time around or perhaps this time. That was definitely a problem in Virginia 4, and I would wager that it's playing out to similar effect in Wisconsin, to the extent that I would say that even though, as Leon said, Doro and Kelly right now in this nonpartisan primary as conservative candidates are in more of a head-to-head, if you can call it that, in the four-way. Democratic enthusiasm throughout this whole campaign has just been higher. And I think that we're going
What
to
part
see.
of the state is Kelly from?
I think he's from Waukesha, too.
I heard he was from Waukesha.
Oh, okay.
He is. But he doesn't have as much of a high profile as Doro there.
Yeah.
But yes, I would say that this is definitely, if we see a continuation of this, where you have Democrats, again, very much enthusiastic and ready to vote. And, well, here's the problem. Here's what's interesting. In a seat like
Here's the
Virginia
thing.
4, which is, okay, Armin, which is safe Democratic, a lot of the Republican vote share there that makes a difference between a D plus 36 and a D plus 35 margin is coming from rural voters. And if rural voters don't turn out, the district is still safe Democratic either way, but it does make a very big difference in the final margin. If you're looking at more well-educated voters, people who have been Republican adjacent in the past, which plays a huge part in New Jersey and Virginia in terms of determining control of the legislative chambers, those are voters who are going to be more, let's just say, have a higher voting propensity, generally higher rates of educational attainment. So you can't really compare them with the rural voters. And it's not fair to say they wouldn't be enthusiastic. But if the pattern continues for 2022 and from the specials in other well-educated counties comparatively from 2022, then persuasion could play a big role. And a lot of those voters who may have voted Republican, even in 2020, might just be frozen off from Republicans, at least for the time being. And that was a big problem in 2022. And I think it'll be fascinating to see if it continues here this time around. Bashir, for example, in his reelection, he's in a very close race. And one of the things that I'm going to be interested in looking at this fall, it's still a long way off, but in Kentucky, if we look at the gubernatorial results from last time, Campbell, Kenton, to a lesser extent Boone, you saw a very strong Democratic swing in each of those three counties, which are extensions to some extent of Cincinnati across the river, which, again, Hamilton County has been moving pretty far. I wouldn't say far left. That's a bad description given the connotations, but you understand what I mean. Point is, it's going to be an interesting thing to look at if this momentum holds up and Democrats keep gaining in well-educated suburbs.
Agreed with that completely. Now, how do we feel about Kelly versus Doro? I'm getting closer and closer to saying we should call it.
I
I'm
think
saying
we
we
should
should call
go
it.
ahead and call it right now.
Okay, I can do it from the account.
Jawohl.
Stimmt. I've written out her name phonetically now, so I don't mispronounce it anymore. I feel bad.
I think someone demonstrated the pronunciation in the comments.
Protasewicz.
A
So,
lot of counties are starting to. Sorry.
no, go ahead, Leon.
A lot of counties are starting to be 100% reported, and I'm seeing a general trend where Democrats or the liberal candidates are combining for a higher total than the conservative ones. So I think the cumulative liberal share will outperform Evers, and yeah,
I agree. I think it's on track for a 53-47.
The Door County heuristic would make you think it's going to be 56-44, but
I'm hesitant to say.
I'm going to chalk that up to just being a small county.
Yeah, I mean, Door's a bellwether, but those things have high error bars, especially because if you think about it, right? Yes, that's true for Door, but then Milwaukee is basically matching Biden, and Evers actually did better there.
Yeah, I guess when you average out all the signals, 53 is a good.
Door and Leelanau across the lake in Michigan are very much two
Very
counties
similar.
that I would say that are analog.
Sturgeon Bay, Sutton's Bay.
Yeah, correct. So they're comparatively smaller counties, and although they've been close, they've been bellwethers and they're Trump Biden counties. Again, I'd be careful to look too much into it. I think if you know where to look, and Laksha, you've known where to look, and if you know where to focus in terms of which counties are more important to determining our perception of the overall performance, which is not uniform, that's how we're going to do it here. So. for example, looking at, as I mentioned earlier, looking at Kenosha and saying, oh, well, that's terrible. It's really not terrible if you think about how polarized Kenosha is, that the combined liberal
Kenosha is only
global
2%, just
Correct.
under 2% of Evers, which is still a Democratic victory.
Correct. Yeah, Decision Desk has it as the democratically aligned candidates are sorry. Well, I mean, I guess that's technically true since Democrats seem to be the more pro-democracy party as of late, but Democratic aligned, to correct my Aaron speech there, at 48.5%, which is mirroring Evers. So
Yeah. Now,
Yeah, these
Ozaki
northern
isn't
counties
in.
are starting to fill in some more, and
Right. Ozaki isn't in, but I keep reminding people this is not the Ozaki County of 2012. This is a very, very
not even
different.
the Ozaki County of 2018.
Correct. It's a very different picture. Biden only lost Ozaki by 12. Yes, you'd expect Republicans to overperform that, but by how much? And by how much it really is Doro going to overperform to kind of, net her the votes needed to overcome Kelly? Because think about it this way. Doro's voters, half of Doro's voters from 2012 are now Democrats.
And I mean, Azoki is only 23%. I think if you look at the votes cast, only like 23% of Waukesha. So it's
Looks like Dems are going to be above 60 in all of Ashland, Douglas, and Bayfield.
Yes.
they're really milking the Obama margins out of there right now.
Yeah, iron is what's surprising me.
Iron is interesting too. That harkens back to a bygone era.
Yeah.
Because iron, I mean, obviously,
I think we have Sheboygan.
You know, the interesting thing with iron, again, ancestrally Democratic, unless you go all the way back to the Coolidge days and the Harding days. But obviously, it voted for Obama comfortably in 2008 because that was a god tier performance in Wisconsin. But in 2012, and I just looked at this to remind myself again, but he only lost it by 6 votes. So
Where?
that shows you.
Iron County.
Obama
Iron.
lost iron by 6 votes?
In 2012.
Yeah,
Right,
it was that
right.
good.
My goodness.
Also, Sheboygan just dropped in DDHQ, and Doro is only leading Kelly by 3%.
Now, does DDHQ still allow you to download results?
They did that?
Yeah, they did at one point. I don't think they do anymore.
Evidently not. Leon, is there any way you could send me a copy of your spreadsheet that I could open up?
CSV?
Sure.
I should have made it in Google Docs.
No, it's fine. I just need the county name so I can input stuff.
I just copied it from Wikipedia.
All right. Well,
Or did you want all the tech?
you
like
can send
the,
that to me as well. I'll take it.
Well, you're gonna get the CSV, and then you won't have my equations. But
That's okay.
And even even the Jefferson adjacent counties like Walworth and Jefferson, even the WOW adjacent counties like Walworth and Jefferson, they're not giving Doro enough of a cushion against all of the carnage she's suffering in the north.
Oh, she is winning Sheboygan. Interesting.
She's winning it, but I would have expected her to win it by more.
Yeah, that's an interesting one to look at. If you compare this to the counties that Clayfish won in 2022, Sheboygan was one of the ones where she came up short slightly.
Well, there is a little bit more. I mean, does Sheboygan County report the early stuff first, or do they do all their in-persons?
Let's go see what their election website says.
I'd look, but I'm doing this on a phone, so.
Or we need to get you new headphones.
It's my computer's fault, not my headphones, I think.
Okay, let's see. So, at the moment, we still have, I believe, 20 wards. Yes, we have 25. The whole city of Sheboygan is not reporting. So everything else besides the city of Sheboygan is reporting, if you want to put it that way. Based off.
Oh, okay. So she'll increase her lead then, I think.
Yes, but the
Because
townships
rural
lying
Sheboygan
around the
County is
city of
MAGA German
Sheboygan.
country.
Correct. Yes. Considering there is a Rhine town.
Well, it looks like in Kewanee County, which is where the Belgian American capital of the country is, Kelly destroyed Doro, 45-18.
Yeah, that's pretty characteristic of the rural areas of the state. And in my spreadsheet, Kelly's catching up to Doro, and my expectation is that, yep, on the New York Times website, Kelly is ahead of Doro, and it probably has been this way for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, same on DDHQ. Or no, sorry, DDHQ is very close. They're almost there.
And the fact is, there's just not enough remaining votes for Doro to overcome Kelly.
Correct.
So
Because even if
that's
you
why we
assume-
called it.
Wait, Lacrosse just came in?
Lacrosse has been in.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Well, then
Lacrosse
why
has
is
been in, and it's a 10-point.
okay? No, so
Liberals got
DDHQ
64%.
is
DDHQ's got the wrong numbers. Yeah.
okay. I was gonna say
Yeah, Protasiewicz. Sorry.
Yeah, that was-
Protasiewicz is
Protasiewicz.
winning. It's going to take a while to break that.
yeah.
down.
No, I looked at that and I was like, that makes no sense to have Doro at 45 in Lacrosse.
Yeah. New York Times has the correct results, though.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, I'm
Now-
just switching between the two.
Yeah. Now, with that said, let's just do a quick exercise to show everyone saying why Ozaki can save Doro. Leon, why don't we just do a quick exercise to show why that is tough? Can we?
I don't have. Okay, let's look at the gubernatorial election results. Ozaki cast
52,000.
29,000 votes for the Republican candidate, and let's look at the other WOW counties. We got Waukesha, 134,000. Ozaki is a pretty. It's relatively about a quarter of say Waukesha County. And if
Does
we-
Ozaki
and
even
if we-
have 100,000 people in it?
I don't think so.
No.
Probably not.
Let him finish.
Um,
Go on, Leon.
Now, if we extrapolate that 1-to-4 ratio, which arguably is not accurate, but for the purposes of this exercise are close enough. Let's look at Waukesha County. What we have right now is about 23,000 votes of net margin of Doro over Kelly. If we apply that 1-to-4 ratio, we have about 6,000 votes that we can expect Doro to net out of Ozaki. But if you look at this spreadsheet, she's only ahead by 1,000 votes, and this doesn't include all of these rural counties and whatever updates from here that I haven't gotten to.
Correct.
That's
and for the
6,000
record,
votes.
at the moment,
Not gonna be
Kelly
enough.
leads Doro by 10,000.
Yep. And I
Essentially,
don't think you can. I think it. That's why Split Ticket has called it. It's over.
Yeah, okay. According to Ryan Brune, Ozaki has only cast 32,000 ballots in total.
Yeah, and you got to think about how many of those were cast for the two liberal candidates and how many of those were cast for Kelly.
Yeah, there's really no feasible path back. You laid it out perfectly there, what we've all been thinking. But no, not enough votes to be netted. Same thing goes for any outstanding ballots in Waukesha, Washington. Of course, those would be much smaller counts, very minimal votes, if netted at all.
I think the game now is just waiting to see what the final margin ends up being. And as the votes come in and underperforming counties for Democrats like Milwaukee come to be a smaller share of the votes I have listed, we're seeing we're going to be seeing a Democratic overperformance by the end of the night. And another thing you have to remember is that a lot of voters in the WOW counties have been contributing to these massive Republican overperformances. Washington, Waukesha. These are coming out significantly more Republican than in the gubernatorial race 3 months ago. And in my expectation, it's because you have voters who voted for Governor Evers also coming out for Doro in this race.
Right, because at their core, you still see the down ballot lag you'd expect in the WOW counties. Most of these voters are still on net Republicans. At least they prefer Republicans when they've got a choice between a sensible Republican to some extent and someone like Kelly. But I'm sure we'll see a little bit of that snapback that we saw in the last gubernatorial race once we get to the general election, pitting presumably, almost certainly at this point, Kelly against Protasewicz.
I really need a better way to fill out the.
Are you only putting in
county results.
fully reported counties, Leon?
No, if it's fully reported, I'm going to bold the county name on
Okay.
on the left.
Nice.
This is just so I can have a active tracker of what's in and what's not.
Yeah, DDHQ flipped lacrosse to its
There.
correct numbers now.
All right, it happened. Now we have a Democratic overperformance based on the partial results we have.
I am putting your formulas back in.
Do you need help doing the U column?
One
I can
second.
explain it.
Where is the? Oh, I didn't see the U column. It's all the way over here.
That's just for the overperformance metric.
Right.
Because you don't want to have an overperformance relative to the final tally. You only want it compared to the votes that's in. And so
Right.
how it works is we calculate the number of votes and we multiply it by the overperformance metric. And then
Nice.
that's like the votes overperformed.
All right. I'll put that formula back in.
And then you take the sum and then you divide it by the total number of votes cast, which is equivalent to the overperformance of the entire, or rather of the votes that you've put in. Imagine doing this before computers.
I know.
And Milwaukee really needs to get their game on.
Let's act together.
Oh, you mean with respect to the 5 a.m. absentee dump that we're going to get?
Yeah.
I'd like to turn our attention now to LaSalle Parish, Wisconsin.
Okay. Where is LaSalle Parish?
Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana, Wisconsin.
Oh,
It would be Florence
sorry.
County.
I didn't make the connection until
I was mainly making that joke for Armin, but he disappeared right as I said it, of course, because that's.
Nope, I'm back. I heard it, and it was very amusing.
Of course, he reappears now.
See, it's like you can't make this stuff up.
It's true. You cannot. All right, give us more results, please.
Okay.
I just want Rusk County to
sheet
report
is
so
now
all of the
updated.
North can be done.
So, I would say that's not the result conservatives would have wanted. Dora would have made this race significantly better for them than Kelly because, well, I guess if I had to liken it to a pair of
Well,
candidates,
Kelly lost once already.
Yeah.
yeah, it's Karen Taylor Robson versus Carrie Lake. That's the way I look at it. And right down to the ideological alignments, Kelly is as close to a Trumpist as you can get.
Oops, I accidentally added Protasewicz and Kelly together. Let's not do that.
No,
Yeah,
no,
it's a
this is
bit
1976.
confusing. I ordered it in the order I expected them to finish.
Right.
Which came close to how it's stored in the Wisconsin County reports. If you switch Mitchell and Doro.
All right, guys. Thank God we switched our prediction last night from Doro to Kelly.
Who called that? That was Harrison, right? Or
No, that was me.
Was it you?
That was Laksha.
Yeah. That
I
was
told
good.
Harrison.
That was good.
I told Harrison, I was like, I've looked way too much at the spending patterns on this race. I don't think Doro was going to do it. It's a coin flip, but I was like, I feel slightly better about Kelly overall.
I have too much faith
Well-
in voters. I should just stop believing in voters, and then my predictions will become much better. Generally, if you just pick who is the craziest candidate, that's usually a good heuristic for predicting these.
For the GOP primary.
For the GOP primaries, correct. In any state or district where you have a significant rural white population. But no,
Yes,
on
the
a
cute
jokes
vote.
aside, Laksha, you know more about spending than the rest of us, so it was very helpful to have you do that analysis. Because even though this will be close, it's good that we ended up going with Kelly.
I have a feeling it won't be close.
Well, I meant that it's close right now.
Oh, yeah.
How much bluer can Dane County get realistically? I mean, every time I think Democrats are approaching a ceiling, they end up bursting past it.
It can get bluer because, well,
It can get bluer until the Republicans get negative votes.
I
Okay.
would say the Democratic ceiling there is probably closer to what you see in a lot of these other, like San Francisco area. Like, I think once you start getting 85, 86, that's when Dems generally would hit a ceiling.
Well, at that point, the only reason Republicans are getting votes there is because someone messed up on their ballot.
Someone once told me, what do you think about the San Francisco Republicans and their efforts to, message against the school board, message for the school board recall? I'm like, what San Francisco Republicans? The school board recall was all Democrats.
But that's true.
Someone said, don't know if they're looking at chat, but can someone explain why Kelly is perceived as crazier than Doro? Yeah, so basically the reason that we think Kelly is a little bit more conservative than Doro, so to say, and in my opinion, a little bit crazier is Kelly is...
They're probably both equally crazy. One of them is just more open about it. That's
well,
usually
let's
how
just say
these
Kelly
things go.
one of them has said Social Security is like slavery. Okay, and that wasn't Doro.
See,
Yikes.
the point stands. It's all about how you carry yourself. And these primaries usually have someone who who's pretty unreserved.
Kelly also said slavery and affirmative action spring from the same taproot. I don't know why this man is so obsessed with comparing everything to slavery.
Well, it's not the first time we've had a politician from Wisconsin take that avenue.
Yeah.
Zachariah Chandler was an abolitionist. So.
For those watching the stream, by the way, both Leon and Harrison are more on the conservative end of the independent spectrum than you might expect, actually. This isn't really a question about who's ideologically aligned one way or the other from the partners here at Split Ticket. This is just the simple matter of reading public comments. And generally speaking, when one candidate in Republican primaries, when one candidate is endorsed by Donald Trump and is likened many independent things to slavery, generally speaking, you can kind of assume that they're a little bit crazier.
It's not even a matter of like partisanship. It's just being out of step with what the majority of people think. And that's something you don't want to do if you're running for office.
Well, you can see it perfectly because if he were more of a Doro-esque candidate and had actually, well, let's just say similar name recognition and walk a show to someone like Doro, then he would have been competing for the county to the extent that it would not have been a county where Doro would have won 47% of the vote. And yes, to answer this question, you really usually don't see Wisconsin judges lose re-election, although very few of them, at least recently, have run for re-election because a 10-year term is a long time, and it's not quite like the Senate. It's actually, because it's 4 whole years longer than that, you'd be surprised. There's definitely a high attrition rate.
Yeah. Now, the other thing to mention is that, well, just in general, Kelly was also, I believe, advising the Wisconsin Republicans on the fake elector slate.
And I mean, to be honest with you, it really shows the same dichotomy that we saw in the last gubernatorial primary, because for a lot of the Republican base, the working class rural white voters, that many of whom were Obama Trump voters, for most of them, the stolen election claims did hold weight and they did convince a lot of them. And so Kelly's propagation of that sort of thinking, even if it's only done furtively, is certainly going to help him, just like it helped Michael in last year's primary against Clayfish. So he's read his audience well, I think. And the problem is, what he's done to secure that base in the primary is going to come back to haunt him in a swing state general election, even in an off year. In fact, it could be even worse in an off year, because you don't have someone like Trump at the top of the ticket pulling out rural voters to the same extent. So if you see a fall off among the people that most fervently supported Kelly in the primary in the general election, and Democratic enthusiasm is constant, then that's just going to make him lose by even more. So it's, in my opinion, um, again, he's his own candidate. He can pursue his own strategy, but that's not the best strategy, far from it, for actually winning an election in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
especially because this is something Split Ticket has looked at previously, and we found that election denial is not popular. It's not a good strategy if you want to win independent voters, and it doesn't seem to uh, give you any benefits in turning out the
Right.
conservative base.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And one of the biggest things that we keep finding over and over is, for a lot of voters, especially independent voters, they are not in love with a lot of the Democratic policies. They disapprove of Joe Biden. They think, Democrats have a little bit too much of focus on, higher taxes or whatever, and they prefer to see lower tax rates maybe. But at the end of the day, arguments over marginal tax rates do not hold as much weight when one party is saying that the elections themselves are fraudulent. And for a lot of independent voters, that is an overriding concern. And they say, you know what? No, I don't care what the tax views are here. I want to at least be able to vote people out if I don't like them. And, you might say it only holds water for 4 to 5% of people as the first priority issue. Okay, but that in itself already swings margin by 2 or 3%.
It's very important for the persuadable contingent that ends up
Exactly.
making the difference in these close races, because exactly like you mentioned, it brings up a really good point. When you see 4 or 5% normally, for example, in a primary, election denying might actually, in many respects, help you secure the base in a primary, but it does not guarantee you the base is going to turn out in the general election, like Leon said. But again, in a general election, 4.5, 5% of the electorate viewing one issue as important, as their top issue, you need to pay serious attention to that. And even with something like abortion, huge social issue last time around, even for people who are not inherently going to be affected.
Still is a big issue, Harrison.
Yes, I know. You see, Leon, when I say things, I'm usually bad at actually using the tense to show when I refer to it. So you can just ignore and assume what I'm saying. But point is, um, that's another good example of an issue which, for people who are perhaps moderate in the sense of being moderate Republicans, but still partisan Republicans, may not have overridden economic issues. But for those persuadable independents, an issue like that, given that they're oftentimes can weather inflation economically, is going to have a larger impact on their voting decisions. And we saw that very clearly in these swing races in Biden districts, where Republicans either lost or won races they were expected to win, but by a lot less.
All right. With that said, Milwaukee County is almost done voting. We've only got 3 wards left. And let me just put in the numbers. Yeah. Either it was Dora pulling out more voters or just poor Democratic turnout. But this is part of the state where the 2 conservative candidates combined are pulling above the Tim Michaels share.
And the Trump share, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're at 66.2 if you look at the Democratic aligned candidates right now, which slight
And
underperformance.
that's essentially the inverse of, what you'll see in the drift list a lot of the times. So I think the thing is, of course, as we mentioned, Dane has kind of canceled that out for Democrats, just in
Dane
general.
has a 7% overperformance for the Democrats.
8% roughly. I mean, it's the thing is, right? If across Dane and Milwaukee, you're maybe underperforming by 3, but then you're overperforming everywhere else by like double digits, kind of levels out.
Right, and
Yeah,
Milwaukee
and
on net still
currently,
casts more votes than
currently
Maine.
I've got Democrats ahead by 0.3.
Ahead of Nichols. Yeah.
Ahead of the gubernatorial race with the same turnout, if you're modeling it like that.
So on track for basically 52-48.
I would say so, but there are a lot of rural counties where I expect the two Democratic aligned candidates to overperform. So I expect the D overperformance to climb up as we finalize
Most Milwaukee
the
strong.
results.
Milwaukee.
Oh, thank you, Adams County,
You
for
can
the
really see the
PDF on Google Drive.
you can really see the reach of the old school Democratic coalition, at least old school landslide Democratic coalition here, because the Republican vote is split. You can very much see counties that historically, to some extent, have voted Democratic, where Protasewicz is ahead. And it's very interesting. What stands out above all is the old third district, back when it was more compact and included the entire driftless area all the way up to St. Croix and then down through Grant, so far is all going to Protasewicz. And in most of these counties, she's not just leading, but she has actually a majority of votes cast. Not all of them, not the more Republican counties, but in quite a few of the counties, she actually managed to have a majority right now. Still a lot of votes out.
All right, that's another county fully in.
One of the things I'm interested overall, since we talk a lot about not necessarily realignment, but coalitions and whether or not they're going to be temporal or changing, we've clearly seen very much strong Democratic enthusiasm. And if you map it against turnout right now, in some of these places, like Virginia's 4th, we've seen clearly that, well, rural white Republicans really didn't turn out. Democratic enthusiasm probably higher. But in a lot of the special elections that we saw last year, we proved that it was actually differential turnout, so that it wasn't as much, in fact, it wasn't at all that you had differential turnout by partisan composition that swung these. It was that you had differential turnout in counties that happened to be more Democratic because they were generally more suburban or more urban and had a higher average rate of educational attainment. In other words, they mapped with voters, regardless of party, who happened to be more persuadable on that, rather than voters who fell outside of the target demographic. And I'm thinking if a lot of those voters, many of whom did vote pretty reliably for Republicans, at least up into 2022 in some cases, whether or not they're just going to punish the Republicans and not vote for them for the foreseeable future, or if they've, through 2022, perhaps become more well connected to the Democrats. We can't really make that claim after one election cycle and a couple of special elections, but if that's the direction we're going in, Republicans could be in for a world of pain in the next few election cycles, at least the next election cycle. I don't want to extrapolate, but it's just something I'm interested in looking at here because for some of these
Maybe.
voters, it's
Yeah.
hard to see them coming back to the fold. I don't really see what would bring them back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hesitant to say much here just because I think in general, these things are quite historically, that's been quite hard to predict, but also historically, we haven't really had one party deny elections, so to say. I mean, I guess we did once, but then they spent 12 years out of power because they were legally not allowed to vote following the Civil War. So ever since then, we don't really have a historical precedent for any of this. And that's why I'm not sure, right? Like where we're headed with all of this. I do think there are some clear signals that would make the Republican Party worried in general. Anytime you underperform in a midterm, it's time to wonder, like, why did we do that? Like, Dems had a lot of soul searching to do in 2002. I think Republicans have bigger cause for concern here because Biden was very unpopular in 2022, whereas Bush was extremely popular in 2002. So if you can't, like Harrison said, if you can't win against an unpopular president, when are you going to win is the question. And I mean, I think they will at some point in the future and maybe quite soon. They might even win in 24. I do think it'll require a slight pivot because for 3 cycles straight, the American public has said we're not really buying what's being sold here.
I think it'll require a bit more than just a slight pivot. Otherwise, I agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, basically, I think as long as the influence of Donald Trump hangs over the party, it gets more and more difficult for them to, move on and pivot because one person is clearly just interested in relitigating something that is not really up for debate.
True. I think the more interesting part of the whole dynamic is just the fact that the base of the party really doesn't want not necessarily just Trump himself, but the Trump vibe, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, fundamentally, like it or not, that's going to define the GOP for the foreseeable future. The problem with that is, even though most of the GOP base, even those among the GOP base who might consider themselves more moderate within the GOP standard, um, they might say, well, yes, Biden won the 2020 election. I accept that, but the issue is just not that important to me, not enough to sway me to voting for a Democrat. That's all fine and well, but if you look at the independents we were talking about, who can sway close elections and they do care a lot about those issues. They do care a lot about, and I guess I could say they will hold a grudge against some of these candidates over election denying related stuff.
Right.
Issues that the average Republican or average conservative independent might not find important. Persuadable voters in the middle who have flirted with or have voted for Democrats recently, even though they're historically maybe Republican voters.
And I want to point out something interesting here. In the 2022 midterms, the party that won independence was actually Democrats.
Yeah.
The reason that they lost the popular vote in the House was because of a substantial turnout disadvantage. But if you're losing independence as the party out of power in a midterm, what's going on is the first question that hits you. It just beggars belief that you would lose independence when the president is at 42% approval. And if that happens, and it did, then it causes ordinarily it causes a lot of soul searching. But in this case, all it seemed to do is gin up a fight among certain people. I mean, Blake, Masters, Kerry, like these are not serious candidates. They've shown no ability to, fundraise or do positive media messaging. It's just, it turns off a lot of voters because they're prototypical Trump clones. The thing with Trump is that he had enormous name ID in 2016 from his business career, was a blank slate because he hadn't run previously and was running against a very unpopular nominee. Now, the thing is, Joe Biden does not engender the same hatred in a lot of folks as per polling that Hillary Clinton or even Barack Obama did. And Democratic candidates are able to be more detached from Biden than Republicans are from Trump, at least from what we see in terms of voting patterns and exit polls.
Yeah, and as the Republicans are now in control of if you want to call it control, of the House of Representatives, independent voters are now seeing them in spotlight as the people in power. And any dissent towards the federal government isn't going to be solely on the Democratic trifecta. Now it's on a split government. And so whatever effects helped Republicans in 2022 take back the House probably won't be lifting their sails in 2024.
Yeah. I think even Doro's camp, from what I can see on Twitter, Doro's camp itself is despondent. They know they've lost this race. So further evidence of her call being vindicated, which we had a very good Leon Harrison, great job assembling the spreadsheets. We knew before anyone basically that there was no path mathematically for Doro. So good work, guys.
Still waiting on Ozaki, right?
Yeah, to see whether it'll be simply a defeat of Doro or a humiliation.
Just feels like elections sometimes get very predictable, but also not. So it's one of the vexing things about the whole process. Because the moment you feel as though you've been used to something, it'll
It
come up and
changes.
stab you in the back.
Yep. The minute you think you know what's going on, they change the minute you think you know the answer, the universe changes the
Yeah,
question.
the rules change. Exactly. Perfectly put.
Right?
Yeah. Why is Columbia County reporting the results by city instead of a countywide tally?
Oh my goodness.
At this point, I might as well just copy from the New York Times. You know what? I might actually do that. Oh man.
New York Times will catch up eventually, so it's not like you're using incorrect numbers.
New York Times. Where is Columbia County? Somewhere here. Oh yeah. Oh, you know what? The New York Times made the same mistake I did. They thought the first number was the countywide number.
Oh.
Well, this will be fun. Feels good to be ahead of the mainstream media. Oh yeah, they did make that mistake. Okay. Guys, this is a split ticket exclusive coverage.
I'll be right back,
Now,
guys.
I hope.
Okay.
All right. Now, Harrison, I hope you'll agree with me that the prospects for the sort of Republican nominee, if you will, Daniel Kelly, aren't looking that great, given the fact that on the aggregate, the Democrats are ahead.
Correct. I mean, I think all of us more or less agree that Kelly's going to have problems because on paper as a candidate, he looks a lot more like a Michaels than a Clayfish. And that's the type of thing
Or
that I was
even a Ron Johnson, if you will.
Well,
Guys,
Ron
I
Johnson's
unfortunately have to log off. But great coverage tonight. Great work. I think our calls were vindicated.
Thank you,
All right.
Laksha. It was great. See
Thank you,
soon.
Laksha. We've had a night.
But I was going to say Ron Johnson's interesting because Ron Johnson is very much vocally conservative.
You know what? I would like to take back my statement. I think he only won because he was an incumbent. If it was a open
Correct.
seat with
Yes.
Johnson versus Barnes, I think Barnes would have won.
Exactly. I was just going to mention that Johnson's sticking power comes from his incumbency because otherwise, on paper, as a candidate, he, in terms of his rhetoric, does sound similar to Kelly in some respects. But being an incumbent, of course, will naturally increase your bona fides with suburban Republicans. And that plays a big role in the wow and the ticket splitting. And as we saw in the maps that you made for the special election in Senate District 8, you saw clear overperformance relative to someone like Michaels. There might not be that much ideological difference, but the voters certainly perceive a difference, however arbitrary or not it actually is.
Now, with respect to that race, I think we have it as likely are currently, right?
I believe so, yes. I believe we're going to start it at likely are. And Wisconsin will probably be leans Democratic, I would think. I think at the bare minimum leans Democratic.
For what level? Like the Supreme Court race?
Yes, if we're going off of the gubernatorial election as a baseline, I don't think we have to. Don't think we have to.
I would venture a likely D.
I would too, but I don't see a reason to.
I don't think we lose anything in saying it's likely, but in my mind, I've already sort of set it to that.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how things transpire between now and then, but I don't foresee any significant changes.
Yeah, and another thing we have to do is wait for the final results out of Wisconsin tonight.
Where'd Armin go? I thought he was here. I suppose he's been gone for quite a while.
Yeah, it was just you, me, and Locksha for quite a while.
Speak of the devil, Armin sends me a message.
What did it say?
He was saying his phone died because his
Oh.
computer, he was on his computer, but it wouldn't work. Also, he had to join on his phone.
That's unfortunate.
No, I'm
but-
sorry. Therefore, not.
Oh.
You need to help me, Leon. I just used the German also for thus.
Well, I think we're in a way done for the night in terms of we don't really have much new content to show beyond just picking through the whatever's left out of Wisconsin. After I finish with Columbia County, which has the most annoying data reporting system I've ever seen. Well, at least it's not a PDF, okay? When we were doing the Texas 28th primary, I had to dig through so many PDFs.
Well, it's South Texas, so that's not surprising at all.
Well, at least Wisconsin gives it by precinct, so.
Correct. I think the most satisfying thing about today is Google Chrome's update introduction of a new feature, which only uses memory from the tab that you are using actively, which is much better for my computer's health.
Didn't have that before?
Well, evidently my version of Chrome either was outdated badly or had just updated, so.
Man, still nothing from Crawford County. What are they doing in the driftless?
Crawford County is unsurprising.
Oh, Ozaki came in.
Let's take a look. Yep.
That's nowhere near 6,000, like we said.
Nowhere near enough because.
Well, you know what? The 6,000 was meant to be a high,
right.
High mark.
I mean, not only do you have fewer votes out of Ozaki, but she's also doesn't have the same spread.
That's not really her home base, yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't have the same spread over Kelly that she does in Washington and Waukesha. So, I mean, in Waukesha you have a 26-point spread, and similar, a little bit less in Washington. But if you go over to Ozaki here, let me see what the numbers are. So yeah, it's about 25. 15. So it's about half. So yeah, not as good.
No, an idea for a data piece we could do is we look at the 8th district primary and look at how many ballots were cast for each party and compare that to the Supreme Court race. So we could get like a idea of how in that district the partisans voted.
Then we could see what the deviation is between the actual partisan, the partisan estimate and the composition.
But again, I suspect the 8th district is Doro country. So
yeah, we might be a little bit biased there because of down ballot lag.
Yeah, I think it'd still be fun to look at.
It would be, especially because Armin and I are doing the down ballot metric piece, so we could down ballot lagitize all these counties and then have a clearer look.
Just when you think Dane County couldn't get any bluer.
It is Dane County. I think that's what everybody says every cycle. Ends up being badly
It's at 82.6% Democratic or liberal.
I mean, there's still room to
deal
fall.
line.
Democrats could theoretically hit 90 in the long run.
It's 0.
I mean, if the trends keep going as they've gone, they could hit 0. Or as close to 0 as you can get.
There.
Not actually hitting 0, but
yeah,
that would be pretty funny.
Like when I post in the group chat the breakdown of South Texas if Cuellar runs for Senate, Ted Cruz will get negative votes.
It's hilarious.
Okay, Door County's done. Oh. After this round, I will map it out, or at least map out the complete results.
Yes.
Dodge County's in, finally. Come on, guys. Dodge? Douglas, okay. I was like confused with some of these. Yeah, 8% over performance. This reminds me of the superintendent race, I think 2 years ago, where,
Right.
Yeah. Dunn County's done. I wasn't even inputting it. I think after this round, where I comb through the numbers and then I get to the map, I think at that point we can, after looking at like sort of the trends, I think we could call it a night.
We could definitely. I was thinking maybe at 11.
Yeah, well, that's in 8 minutes, so I don't know what you. Yeah. Hey, actually, with more votes coming in from Ozaki, Doro is winning the WoW counties.
Oh.
And only the WoW counties. That's interesting.
Decision desk must be out of date on Sheboygan.
Okay, back to clicking around.
Well, good on Wisconsin for actually counting its votes quickly.
Yeah, on the night of.
If this were Nevada, we'd be waiting until 5 hours.
We'd have probably stopped the stream. We'd have stopped the stream already because we just give up.
We would give up
getting our
because
results.
we wouldn't. It would be 5 hours after poll closing, and we'd still be waiting on one voter in line in Lake Tahoe. AKA exactly what happened last cycle.
Yep. Republicans are really getting clobbered. Yeah, New York Times called it for Kelly.
There it goes.
All right. Liberal justice is now at 1% over 1% over years.
It's creeping up.
Yep. Still have quite a few counties to come through. They'll keep creeping up more. Look at Green Lake County. Just dropped 8.4%. Jackson County's in. Well, you know what? If you're listening, that might be old news, but for me, it's new because I've been in the spreadsheet for a while. All right, Kenosha's in too. I think, yeah, that's on New York Times. New York Times is almost done too. They've only got 3 counties left, and I think that's just because they haven't been checking. Now, Kenosha is a D over performance county.
How much now?
2.6. It was 1.7 Republican over performance right before I updated it. So creeping up, creeping up. Exceptions are, looks like Milwaukee and Menominee. Everything else is either WOW, like Waukesha, or
Well, makes
it's
sense.
just
You can just chalk up to the fact that nobody votes there.
Yeah.
Small sample, more variance.
Yep.
This is almost as exciting as the Georgia runoffs.
Are you? I don't know if you're joking.
I'm joking.
Yeah. Lacrosse is done. New Langlade County. Another D overperformance out of Langlade by 5.5%. All right, Manitowoc has fully reported. Has a 6.2 Republican overperformance, but we'll see about that after I input the votes. Hey, it's still just barely a Republican overperformance, 0.83. So looks like there was a bit of a red mirage.
We've seen that before.
Yep. Same state.
Yes.
True election observers will remember 2020.
Yes.
What have you been up to, Laksha? I mean, my God, Harrison. I got up at 4 today. Okay, my bad.
It's
Sorry.
okay. It's okay. In what sense have I been up to what?
Like, what are you clicking around? Are you working on your own spreadsheet?
I'm actually working on some German writing, to be quite honest with you.
Ah, okay.
What I'm going to do with the spreadsheet is wait till we have final results and then feed them into it and keep it as a
Yep, that would be wise. First result. Pet. I think there are some questions in the comments that we should probably attend to.
Let's see. Mitchell's support concentrated. Well, from what I can tell, and this would make sense given that it's his home county, it would definitely be in Madison, in Dane County.
Well, we can just simply run
Pretty sure
it through the
it's
spreadsheet.
Dane. I don't think he came particularly close anywhere else.
I think he's highest in You're saying Dane is highest?
That would be my guess because it's his home county.
Yeah, Dane with 14% looks like it's the highest. Second is Milwaukee.
That makes
And
sense,
nowhere else comes close except Ashland.
Yeah, I would wager that he probably pulled some black voters into his camp in Milwaukee too, which would make sense.
Yep.
Not enough to win the demographic, but
We could actually look at that through the precinct maps, but yes.
I won't say it with certainty, but I would say most likely not enough, given his relatively poor performance.
Dane County is almost done. We're just waiting on one more precinct, and there's the 7.4% overperformance remains. Milwaukee's still not done, and well, we're just chipping away. You're still watching. Still seeing that consistent Democratic overperformance in every county except Wow and Menominee. And also, where was it? Manitowoc, for some reason. Which, I mean, it's kind of close to Milwaukee, or the Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Only just. I have Green Lake and Grant. New York Times doesn't. Yeah. All right. Conto.
In fact, I think I will write a review of the Supreme Court election for the German split ticket that has begun. Since I paid for the domain, I might as well use it.
That'd be a good idea.
Only $7, but I do have a friend who's interested in writing some articles there. There actually is a surprisingly high amount of people in Germany who are interested in American politics. I know it's hard to believe, but a lot of our site viewers are from German IPs.
That's cool.
And Malaysia, for some strange reason.
Maybe a lot of political engagement, if you will.
We have a comment from Kaiser here. I think that Doro would have been, I think we all agree Doro would have been a better candidate than Kelly. However, I think the Democrat would still end up being the favorite in that race. but it would make the difference between more of a tilt Democratic race and a rating in between leans or likely Democratic, I think. In other words, perhaps the difference between a 2-point Democratic win and more like a 6-point Democratic win.
I agree. We're seeing pretty good Republican margins out of WOW, and I don't think that's just because of the historical preference for Republicans there. Um, Needless to say, it's I think it's Doro pulling voters. If we imagine the Republican primary just involving the votes for Kelly and Doro, Kelly, from what I have, would have won 53 to 46 or 47.
Interesting. So it ends up just being well, roughly the same margin as the Michaels versus Cleveland primary, except
Wasn't that 5?
yes, it was a little bit closer.
Okay,
Similar margin though,
gotcha.
similar to 6, except you had Timothy Rampoon in the race, which was naturally, and Nicholson, so brought it below 50. But
I see.
too bad you can't fix errors on the election atlas.
Can you send a strongly worded email?
I could. The problem is you can only change or fix errors if you uploaded that contest to the website. And I was looking at the
That's
1994.
ridiculous.
I was looking at the 1994 South Carolina Democratic gubernatorial runoff. Now, again, relatively obscure election, I'll admit, but very close and interesting Democratic runoff and divide between the Low Country and the Piedmont and the Greenville-Spartanburg area. But it was a Democratic runoff, and whoever submitted the data in 2011, the numbers were correct, but he labeled one of the Democrats as a Republican.
Oh, that's
I tried to
unfortunate.
fix it, but it said you are not allowed to overwrite this. And I'm like, oh. So I'm going to email Mr. David Leip about it and ask him, hey, we should probably fix this for the sake of quantity, or rather quality in this case.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's better than a
I mean,
data
the thing is, if better than what?
It's better than a common numbers mistake, but it's still something that you'd want to fix for the sake, especially because the atlas for primaries uses the same colors for general elections. And so it's very easy to look at that and think that it actually is a general election with a weird coalition.
Yeah, that's confusing. That's one of the more confusing parts of the atlas is how it. I don't really like the colors, if I'm being honest. I think they're too 90s, if you will.
Well, here, I agree with you on paper. I feel like I normally use Our Campaigns. I think it's a better site and it's more comprehensive. But the Atlas is fun sometimes just to look through because, and this is the one thing I like better about the Atlas than when compared to Our Campaigns, is that the Atlas groups all the statewide elections in a given state on one page where you can easily access all of them. Our Campaigns only groups them by office history. So you have to do a little bit of
Our Campaigns is pretty hard to navigate.
Yes, I do like it. I do like Our Campaigns better for the visualizations and the information, especially because they have house races. But the Atlas is easier to navigate.
I agree. Really Racing County, comma.
Forest County is interesting. That's one of the counties tonight where Obama actually managed to win pretty convincingly in 2012, but the conservatives are still winning comfortably on this map.
And they aren't underperforming Michaels by much, only 0.2%, which is negligible.
We need to build you a scraper, Leon.
Well, we're working with PDFs here. It's not very workable. Subtotal. Oh, that's what they meant. That's kind of dumb. Okay, so Russ County's PDF has subtotals, but the total isn't each block. It's the It's whatever precincts are above it. So that's not very helpful. But I mean, I'll take the full count. Yeah, the problem with when they use scrapers is sometimes, like for example, the New York Times. I wonder if they fixed it. Columbia County. Maybe I should check my work. 3874. Ooh. Yeah, I need to go back to that. Columbia County. I'll just go back now. But yeah, they scraped and they only got the top result. All right, Milwaukee's done. The absentees have dropped.
It's interesting because if it's anything like it's actually probably going to end up looking a little bit more like the 2012 results out of Milwaukee, not the city.
68%.
The county.
So the D share went up a bit.
Are they at 68?
68.4.
Yeah, so it's still closer to Obama's 2012 margin in the county to 65 or 67.5.
And Dane's done too. Let me just.
But a lot of that was because Romney held up better in the suburbs to the northeast and also south of Milwaukee.
Yeah. Yep. All right, the two biggest are completely done. I need to go back to Columbia County and check my work. There's a chance the New York Times messed up, but oh, they have a summary report that I should have seen. My bad.
And you can connect Darrow back closer to the Obama, not the Obama performance, but Romney's performance. It would make sense.
And that's how she probably would have performed if she had won the primary, if you will.
Yes, at least in the WOW. Although I don't think she would have fallen off as badly as Romney in outstate Wisconsin. But Kelly perhaps could, depending on how far the race falls. If it ends up being a 10-point loss like his last one, then you could end up seeing something. Not Obama 2008, but Obama 2012, adjusted for present day polarization or perhaps some depolarization because court race.
Yep. Yeah. I recently mapped a judicial race in Orange County, and that's one of the things we saw. We saw a lot of, especially Vietnamese voters, go for Michelle Bell instead of Peggy Huang, despite the partisan endorsements. And then you saw a lot of non-Vietnamese Asian voters going for Huang, and that's probably has to do with the last name, and also the sheriff's endorsement in the mix.
Right. Right. It reminds me a lot of I think perhaps the even better example, given the fact that Ohio is a much better state than Wisconsin federally and down ballot, is Jennifer Brunner's victory in her last nonpartisan state Supreme Court election. She won by double digits, I believe around 10 points, and she carried. In fact, if you look at a traditional party registration map in Ohio, that's what the coalition looked more like.
Party registration? Don't you mean primary turnout? Is that what you mean?
Yes. I'm probably misremembering or misspeaking.
Because Ohio doesn't have partisan registration. They have a primary where you can just say
right.
your.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I was confusing it with Kentucky then.
Yeah.
But
Go ahead.
we can reword it to if Ohio had voter registration, then we would see a lot of
Yes.
lag in not just the Mahoning Valley, but also in the Appalachian region in general, all the way up and down the Ohio River. And
There would definitely be some Appalachian counties in Ohio with still Democratic registration right now.
Columbiana, Jefferson, Belmont, all good examples. Monroe.
Probably Mahoning too, yeah.
Definitely Mahoning. There would be huge lag there. But if the lag is anything like what it is in Kentucky, then it would look a lot like Brunner. Brunner actually won the entire Appalachian stretch up through the Mahoning Valley. So that's a good example.
That's why I'm a fan of nonpartisan races, because then you actually think about who you're going to vote for.
Right. It's more
when everything is partisan, it's really lame, because you can just guess how a community is going to vote just based on prior. That's not what the PDF has. Thank you, Sheboygan County. That's not what. Okay, well, yeah. My point being, when you are when they lose the party label, you can actually see people vote differently than how you might expect. The vote report from Sheboygan County is bugged. They're supposed to have 5 pages. They only have 1, so we'll be able to update that. Yeah. Oh, they have a viewer. Oh, what? Yeah. It's not fun. Okay. But we're almost done. Almost going to map it out. No, I'm not going to give up. Here it is. What do you mean? Ah, here we are. it's done. Harrison, are we going to be streaming the Chicago mayoral next week?
We can if you'd like.
I don't think it could hurt. I mean, it's just a matter of everyone's availability.
Yeah, I could find. I'll be available.
All right. That's great.
Yeah, we can see the racial polarization of the 2004 or 2002 Illinois gubernatorial primary.
You know what? Why don't we just open DRA and say we got the precinct map done?
Well, that more or less works for that primary.
Washington County, come on, baby. All right, Washington's done.
I
So,
can't believe
wow
the
is
white turnout was so bad. The Democrats won Dinwiddie.
I don't know how to explain that. I mean, it's
just
like the reverse
atrocious.
Youngkin. I mean, like you'd figure,
Because
at
let's
the
face
very
it,
least,
those are not the type of voters that get persuaded by any stretch.
yeah, they either show up or they don't.
Or they don't. Yeah. In this case, I'm not trying to discount. Hold on, I just got a message.
Okay, Harrison, we've got a current figure of just under 2% over performance on the Democrat side. So
That's good, especially considering Milwaukee. Because if you remove
And,
Milwaukee, if you don't count Milwaukee, that'll shoot up.
well, it's the entire wow that's causing Democrats a headache.
Right.
I might just give it one last round to check the remaining counties that haven't finalized the report, and I don't have anything from Racine like officially. So
We have returns from Racine.
yeah, but it's not on the website, and I wanted the consistency of sourcing. Zaki.
Is Crawford's board reporting?
Come again?
Crawford's Board of Elections has reported officially.
Crawford? I have nothing from them.
Oh, DDHQ. Those must be the only two counties on DDHQ where the county boards have not published returns yet.
I think. Sorry, hang on. New York Times does everything up. Like the whole map is filled.
Oh yes, DDHQ does too. I was just I know you were trying to be consistent here by pulling from county websites. So
Yeah. Okay. Brown had one precinct remaining. Hopefully they got to it. Because I don't want to map it and then have to.
redo it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, they finalized it. So. Yeah. We'll just plug it in. Chippewa's done.
Iron is just hilarious, honestly. Stands out like a sore thumb. Bayfield too and Ashland, you can really see the accentuated iron range adjacent.
Menominee is the special case, to say the least.
Yeah, that's a classic example of small sample, crazy results in statistics.
Yep.
Like the Franklin and Marshall poll of Pennsylvania that polled 50 people.
At that point, it's not really worth it.
Well, they published the results. Sounds like something Big Penguin would do.
Ah, yes, Big Penguin.
Big Penguin. I miss those days, kind of.
You do?
I miss the reaction that Armin would have to
It was
every Big
funny.
Penguin
It
poll.
was funny. I gotta say.
I don't miss the methodological malpractice and lying, but
Well, I thought it was obvious, but I don't come to think of it, probably not. County clerk has nothing. I don't know where New York Times got their
or DDHQ,
results. Yeah.
unless the county clerk forwarded them privately.
Okay, well, I'll just leave it blank for now. I don't. It's not really important to have everything.
You could always send out the official map tomorrow as well.
Well, do you think we should make a map? I mean, like for today? Because what I would have wanted to map was the general election. I don't want to map it twice, although that's a bit.
No, I was more so saying we might get. I know you're on
Well, I
the.
think we should just map it anyways. I might not publish it on my personal account, but
We can
certainly.
map it. Yes, I was saying we can map it now if you want, but if some of these results aren't going to be published officially, I was thinking maybe we wait till
Well,
tomorrow.
I have the I have my I already have the shapefile ready, if you will.
Okay, I'm going to update results into my sheet now. Let's see what our campaigns has. They're going to be outdated, but they can serve as a preliminary. Well, there was indeed. Oh, our campaigns has nothing. Looks like we're going with manual transcription. Well, I'm going to use Decision Desk.
One precinct missing. Uh-oh. It looks like everything, and they just don't want to finalize it.
Yeah, maybe they're just giving you a just completely false read on how many precincts are actually reporting.
Yeah.
Could be the case.
Well, I think I'll just put it in. And there's still always like provisionals that they're not counting tonight, but okay, so. Yeah, it looks like D plus 8.
Oh, wow. Candidate lineup matches exactly with Decision Desk.
Oh, it was on the front page. Man, I am not very smart. Okay.
Oh, you are very smart.
I'm a stable genius.
Yes, as someone that we all know has oft said.
14.6% overperformance on the deep Democrat end. So the I think a lot of conservatives are underestimating how sort of the 2016 coalition was built on a lot of secular, not really socially conservative in the traditional sense. Republicans were voting.
Yes, I agree. And you
And
saw it even more pronounced with Republicans who were willing to split their tickets, vote Republican for Congress, Clinton for president.
yeah,
Now we're basing our overperformance calculations off of 2018 governor, right? Or relative to
2020 governor, because that's where I got this.
right, 2022. Again, a classic example of when I mean something completely different from what I
Yeah.
said.
I think I said 2020 governor, which is completely inaccurate.
We both messed up. I do not want Scott Walker's numbers in WoW, otherwise it's going to make the Democrats look much better than they actually were.
Although it might help even it out.
It would help even it out because it would
Actually,
reduce
no,
all
the Democrat would perform a lot better because
because
Scott Walker did a
Walker
lot
did better
better
than
than
Burrow,
Michaels.
yeah.
Yeah.
Way better than Michaels.
I'm going to assume if there's no, if it's only one precinct left, that there was just no one in that precinct. Because, I mean, I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do that. I'm guessing they fused a precinct or something. I think we're almost close to complete. Yeah, I just need racing. Hopefully I can find it. For the other ones, they're just hidden in plain sight. They just didn't have it on the elections results.
What was the demo for performance in Adams?
I have it as 4.25. $2023.
Oh, that would make sense. It was just completely using the wrong column. There we go, 4.25. All right, now we're in business.
All right.
Yeah, and we would use this sheet as the baseline. Well, yours is the baseline originally, but this is useful for being in the Google Drive and being editable in Google Sheets. And then I'll put in the 2012 data for our recap piece.
Yes, good idea. Still nothing out of the Racine website, which is ridiculous. Still can't find the actual results. I mean, sometimes they hide the link, but just can't find it. Current election results. I might just copy whatever they have on New York Times. I don't know where they got the.
Adams is in. And now I'll go fill in these counties with VDHQ. I hope the numbers are correct. But these should be pretty close to the final numbers. We can update them.
You mean what they have right now?
On DDHQ, yes, they should be
Yeah.
relatively close to final.
Yeah. Have to find somewhere else to get racing. Generally, how large a precinct is in population, I'd say 2,000.
Depending on
Maybe.
the county.
It depends by county. Yeah. Brown County had, that looks like 36,000 votes, maybe? Yeah. And they have 100 precincts. So that's like
Yeah, Brown's at about 38,000 right now.
360 votes per precinct in Brown County, right? So, and turnout was kind of bad. And then you have to think of all the people who can't vote. And that turns out to be about maybe over 1,000 people. Between 1,000 and 2,000 is a good benchmark for precinct population. Yeah. Sheboygan still has that issue. So. I got everything except 3 counties, and then for those that you can just, I don't know.
Yeah, there's no problem. I'm just putting in the numbers by hand here. Good to memorize where all the counties are.
And I'll just gray them out to a different color. And why don't I just switch the screen I'm sharing? Stop screen, present. Welcome to the lovely world of Inkscape. Okay. So we're just going to map the actual performance of the coalitions, because I think that's what people want to see. And there's also the relative overperformance, but I don't want to. I'm lazy.
Yeah, let's just do the raw overperformance relative to 2022 governor.
You want to do the relative performance, or do you want to do the actual like totals?
We should do the totals first, and then maybe tomorrow we can do the other one.
Yeah. Let's publish it from the split ticket account, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Then I can put it in the folder for the maps database.
Good idea.
Although that folder can now be transferred to the Google Drive. So.
Yep. Clear water.
Klares Wasser.
Yeah.
Looks like Eau Claire did not update.
I think Eau Claire's done.
Yeah, it must have been done for a while because only a few counties were filled out when you sent this to me, and it's still correct. So
Yeah.
I'm just updating, filling in the rest, but satisfying to watch everything fall into its rightful place and the results be calculated.
Well, I think anyone who's still watching is uh, in for the long ride until we get this done.
Right. You could always use Microsoft Paint in the Atlas colors if you think that looks more aesthetic.
Nice one, Harrison. Very funny.
I like the Atlas colors for the rustic feel, but it does not blend with Split Ticket.
Well, Split Ticket will not be implementing. I mean, I think it would have been better if America just had the European colors, but that's just not how things turned out. So forget it, lol.
Thank you to the 2000 election.
Yeah. Whoa, the two Democrats won Kenosha County.
Oh, they did end up winning it.
Yeah.
Oh, let me update the results for Kenosha. I'm getting to it. I'm at Iron County right now. Luckily, any other results updates after the one I'm doing now will be relatively minor and should not change.
That's right.
Anything significant. Pretty impressive for Kenosha, given how polarized it is. But that tracks, given the average overperformance tonight.
Yep, and with D+8 margin, if you will. Yeah.
Statewide.
Yeah.
I was going to say D+8 in Kenosha County is Obama 2000. Well, in the present.
Whoa, Winnebago County? Winnebago County went blue.
So you see, this is what's interesting. Again, if you apply the average SIF that you calculated, it does make sense because those were both two very narrow Michaels counties.
Yes.
Very narrow. Less than
Michaels
won Winnebago by 0.9.
Harrison, look at the stream. You can see all the blue counties. Look at the third district. Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Van Orden would have been steamrolled this match.
Yeah, if there was an election today. Well, you know what? If there was an election today, I think the Republicans would have tried harder.
I mean, they still
the Democrats would have tried harder too. So
yeah, they still would have come up short given their track record here, but
yeah,
they could just run Lan He Chen.
I didn't hear you.
They can run Lan He Chen.
Lan He Chen, yes. He did pretty good.
He did. He won Orange County by 9.
Yeah.
Although every Republican statewide won Orange County this year, which was a little shocking.
Mooser only won it by 1. Less than.
I know, but before I looked at it, I thought Mooser had lost Orange County. So
yeah, well, it's the late arriving in-person votes that pushed him over. As real Orange County people will remember. Like, what are Republicans going to do in 2024 when turnout on the D side comes back up? Like, what exactly is the plan?
Well, hopefully the plan for them would be to actually convince their own voters to vote.
Not their own voters, but to convince voters in general to vote for,
Yes, but also their own base voters who actually come out and vote.
Oh. we're seeing how that's
We
going.
always joke about getting out of the base, but sometimes they just fail to get out of the base.
Like today,
Exactly.
should have.
I mean, it's hard to convince the base to come out in an election in a place like Virginia's 4th district, obviously, but
Yeah, when they have nothing else to turn out for. Like if there was a statewide race, like Yunkin, then they have something to turn out for.
hence why you saw multiple coastal plain, black plurality legislative districts flip.
Yep. Burnett County. Oh. Yeah, a lot of these counties are very small, but they are steeped in history. California.
And they pack a punch for Kelly over Doro.
Yeah. Let's see.
Oh my. Lincoln County votes for a Democrat. Nope, never mind. Slightly Republican, I think. Very slightly. Nope, actually not at all. 58% for the Republicans. I just read that.
That's a pretty big swing there.
Yes, it's a big swing because I'm used to looking at counties with lots of votes. So I see 500 vote lead. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. But then it's
Yeah.
a county with 4,000 votes. So
Cherokee County.
Republican legacy of Abraham Lincoln holds up.
That was in Wisconsin, right?
What was?
The founding of the Republican Party.
Correct. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Back in 1854.
A couple of years ago.
Yes, I would say that. Actually. Just a couple.
Yeah.
We have Marionette Miller Meeks County.
Marathon. Hey, do you still run?
I wish I could, but I'm trying to gain weight back, and I can't if I run. I only lose weight to the point
Yeah.
where it's unhealthy. And I was underweight, and the doctor said this is very dangerous.
So you ceased the cardio.
I have well, no, I still do cardio, but I don't do as high intensity like running. I love running. I'd love to do it someday, but my metabolism needs to return to stasis of some sort.
Yeah. I've been running pretty much every day, and it is fun. And I was wondering if you still did it.
Well, I miss it. The gym, I like going to the gym every day too, but I miss going on runs. I'll admit.
There's a sense of freedom that you can't really get anywhere else.
True.
But, to mitigate any emotion of missing running, I'll just stop talking about it.
It's okay. Hopefully, it's just a temporary thing. In the long run, I'd like to not do it every day again, but I'd like to get back into it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Green Lake. Kill
But no, suffice to say, in general, I do enjoy fitness. It is relieving for the mind.
Yeah. And it's a great way to get out
Exactly. Yes.
and touch grass, as many people
In
on the
today's
website should be
lovely
doing.
New Jersey hailstorm.
You guys had a hailstorm?
Yeah, and then it was sunny and 70 degrees 15 minutes later.
Oh.
New Jersey has the weirdest weather on earth.
I wouldn't say that, but
Well, the weirdest
It's up
weather
there.
that most of these people have seen.
that's right.
purposely finished all of my homework early so I could input county results into a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with us.
Maybe so.
Internet. Oconto.
Very Republican county. Lots of so-called true patriots there.
Yes. Shawano. Shawano County has like 2 townships that should be in Menominee County. It's crazy.
They, oh, yes, I do know what you're talking about now.
Where is Wapaka?
Especially Bartlemy, I think that's one of them. But if I remember correctly, it has pretty high native population.
Yeah, I mean, like the reservation is a rectangle, but the county is like missing 2 blocks. Washington and Taylor and 55. Okay, I'm sharing that Wisconsin map, and I think the other 2 we can just fill in real quick. But that's what I officially have on the spreadsheet.
You can probably just use what we have available from the Times.
New York Times, yeah. I can't because they round. Ugh.
DDHQ uses.
Okay.
DDHQ.
I'll get on that. But Ozaki is still counting. I'm not going to fill that in. Man, this accursed rounding.
Yeah, it doesn't work too well for mathematical data.
I mean, when you think about a county, you don't need the decimal point. That's just like if it's rainy one day or not. But here we are. Do they have 2023 stuff? I
Where?
don't see it. DHQ.
They do. You might have to look up the Supreme Court race specifically.
Could you link me?
Yeah, I'm using it. I'll send it to you in the chat. So then we don't get any more random people invading our chat. I had to ban probably 15 people.
No, I hope you didn't ban them.
I didn't ban them from the stream, but they kept rejoining and trying to take part. So I had to kick them.
Yeah. 55% Racine. Isn't Kenosha more Republican than Racine?
I believe so.
All right.
Not historically, but
60
post-Trump. Yes.
Yeah. Now waiting for a little Ozaki. Hey, they're done. Great. Thank you, Ozaki County. Oh, they're not done.
I did bold Ozaki on my list just so I know to go back and put in the final results.
Oh, I bold when I'm finished. So, the heads up.
Oh, that's okay.
Ozaki's still going to fall in that bucket. So, yeah, that's the map. Let's slap some text on it and then call it not a night, but like, you know what I mean.
Beautiful map.
Yes, yes.
How did you craft such a beautiful color scheme?
It was revealed to me in a dream.
Very funny.
Jokes aside, I can I can show you the original, the first spreadsheet. Uh, uh, well, not here. Oh, never mind. That's a story for another time. But what it is the hue is 210, and then the for the blue, and then you just you know incrementally. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to explain it,
I understand
but
what you mean.
yeah. Uh, 2023 Wisconsin Supreme
Did you
Court.
not get the link I sent?
What link?
The DDHQ link.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I used it to get the remaining county data.
Oh,
Yeah, thanks. Wisconsin Supreme Court primary election. Yeah. Too wide. Fixed.
Toro did end up winning Sheboygan.
Doro?
Yes,
Gotcha.
narrowly.
96, negative 96, plus. I can't do that in my head. So the midpoint is 416.
So that is why we have spreadsheets.
Yes. 940. Negative 54. So let's just. Actually, no. I should say. Should I say liberals and conservatives?
You
What should
could
I say?
refer to them in that sense, yes. I think that would honestly be better from a strictly academic standpoint, since
I mean,
Democratic and
technically,
Republican alignments are parochial.
there's no such thing as party affiliation that you
Yeah,
can
our
prove
associations are just
in
colloquial.
Wisconsin. Let me just steal the latest data from DDHQ.
If only they let you download it.
Well, that's why they invented. Actually, before I do that, I'll do one last round on the 3 problematic counties. Hopefully, they tried to get the data out. Nope. Zaki needs to be updated. Come on, Racine. Oh. Yeah, Sheboygan solves that problem. Well, yeah, I'm just going to take it from DDHQ. Then maybe I'll credit them. Ozaki's wrong.
Might not be fully up to date. That's why I bolted it.
Yeah.
I believe Waukesha and Washington are correct.
They're done. They're done counting. So it just depends on whether you've got the newest numbers.
Yep, I'm taking them from the latest DDHQ. So
You can also get them from the actual county. But so.
yes, I was just as long as the data source is consistent.
And remember, this won't be permanent. I mean, once the
I mean, eventually all the data should
we'll
be
certify it.
And Glass County would. And
Oh, you know what? Yesterday for you was Mardi Gras, and we were just mapping an election.
Yep.
500,000 votes, not that bad.
Okay, the counts are correct. Okay, I think all my data are correct.
Uh-oh. You use the plural form of data.
I know.
Not the plural, but the proper Latin form.
Yes, I'm used to that at this point because I'm more linguistically minded than data minded.
You mean data?
I do, but either way.
Oh, that's not what I meant, actually. No, I didn't mean to comment on your
You meant
pronunciation.
datum.
I meant like the data versus the
Yes,
no,
exactly.
the data shows versus the data show. That's what I was picking at.
Well, if I wanted to say show, I could say datum instead, like in German.
Datum.
Das Datum.
Protase.
Protosewix.
Protosevits. But that's not how you say it.
I wrote it out phonetically, but now I don't even know what I wrote.
Protasevits.
It's Protosewix, I think. Protosewix.
I don't know if I don't have enough Polish American friends.
I don't know anything
to
about
know-
it. If it were a German name, it'd be perfectly easy.
to know whether they use the V as W as the V sound, or however that is.
Yeah. Time to put in the conditional formatting.
When I learned how to do conditional formatting, it saved me so much time because I used to do it manually.
Same.
But this was back in the dark ages of
Back in
high
the
school.
dark ages. I see. Okay. Well,
Keep 4.8%. Oh wow, yeah, I like how that looks.
we could practically have the Canadian party names, except we have to mix the colors around.
Yes. All right, what else does this baby need? Okay, we need to credit DDHQ because we stole
And
from
we
it.
need the split ticket logo.
I don't have that.
Well, let me email it to you. Actually, I don't have it either. Laksha has it. Forget it. We don't need it.
We can just say made by Leon Sit for split ticket, which is true.
Somewhat.
Well,
I'm kidding. It's true.
Well, no. I need a. Sorry, I'm dumbstruck by something. 4622. Sheboygan County has a lot more votes on New York Times than DDHQ, and on New York Times,
What does the county
Latrice.
site say?
Well, it doesn't say anything. I explained this, right? They
Oh, it's one
they
of the
said,
counties with no results.
"Oh man, I don't like this.
Fraud.
Oh no." What do we do?
We stick with Decision Desk because we're crediting them, and then we update it.
Oh, you know what? We're not mapping the winner. We're just mapping the
Composition, right?
yeah, and the composition should be the same bucket. And if it's
Yeah.
not, well, no one will notice.
Correct.
That's not true, but
Someone will notice, but it doesn't matter.
hang on. We have some questions. Does split ticket have the general election as lean? D.
We haven't rated it yet. We have to
Yes,
agree
yes,
on
we
it.
do.
But I would say probably.
New York Times has Sheboygan as Janet 1. That is right, but Sheboygan County didn't upload their data right. So,
Sad.
yeah. Ozaki is not fully reporting. Well, according to when I checked a while ago. Let me check again. "42 out of 49 still. What are they doing?"
Playing political process with Armin.
Still waiting on Cedarburg. Not a single vote from Cedarburg. So we don't have the logo. Oh, you know what? We need the the thing. You know the thing. That's one of my that's one of my favorite Biden moments.
Right. I'm going to take fate into my own hands with making new Atlas predictions.
I did those in 2018, and they're still there for time immemorial.
Yes, I did. 2018, I didn't understand how to do them properly. I thought you only had to pick the correct winner in the state, not the percentage. So I had arbitrary percentages. So my picked winners were actually pretty good, but the percentages were all nonsense. So it did not work out well. But everything after 2018, I started taking percentages into account.
And that helps.
It does, although I still pick Blake Masters, and I want to slam my head into a table.
This is good news for Blake Masters.
Perhaps the only good news for Blake Masters, he was selected to win in an Atlas prediction.
All right, 85.
I did
80.
keep Raphael Warnock, though. So
Yep, and that's where the split ticket wisdom came in.
correct.
30. Good. Person.
Yes?
Does it look good?
Yes, it does.
Excellent. Wunderbar.
Wonderschön.
I recall Central Park in fall.
You know, what would be a cool election to upload to the Atlas would be Wade Hampton's Reconstruction era victory as governor of South Carolina.
Who's Wade Hampton?
Good question. He was a Confederate general who won the hotly contested 1876 election for governor of South Carolina.
Was this during the Reconstruction?
Correct.
Democracy? Quote, democracy?
Yes, it was during that time. Oh, I can't put this in the Atlas because the counties are old. Damn it. Pardon my language, everyone. This is back in a simpler time when South Carolina only had what appears to be 30 counties.
I see.
Although Horry County is exactly the same.
2023. You know what? We might be able to nab the split ticket logo from a old map.
Yes.
Claire did that, right? If my memory
Yes.
serves.
Yes, correct. Well, the Atlas has pretty good coverage for South Carolina for all of the key races. Doesn't look like it needs anything updated because before 1970, for Senate and governor is pretty much just safe Democratic. So the Republicans didn't win the governorship until 1974. Although that was a much shorter post-Reconstruction drought than what you saw in Georgia, I will admit. Maybe comptroller general.
I don't like that word.
Or it's technically pronounced controller, but every time it's late at night and I read it, I'll say comptroller. But as Bob Bullock always said when he was controller for Texas, it is not pronounced the old French way.
Yes.
Oh, that's why there are no controller general elections for the 80s, because Earl E. Morris Jr. just won with 100% of the vote 12 times, it looks like. In that case, it looks like, what about agricultural commissioner? State treasurer and agricultural commissioner. Let me see if I can take those offices back to the 70s. And then if not, then it looks like the Atlas has all of South Carolina's important statewide results. Oh, Commissioner of Agriculture could use more.
Okay, how does this work? After we put the split ticket logo in, do I just do my standard made by Leon Sit for split ticket? How should we go about it?
I was thinking, I mean, maybe it depends on how big you want the split ticket logo. It looks fine up there unless you want to put it in the bottom corner.
I think it looks good like that. And then, goodness gracious. Okay. Let's say made or prepared by Leon Sit for split ticket. Data courtesy. Maybe data from
Decision desk.
EDHQ and respective county offices. Shapefile, Alex McPhee. Maybe not shapefile, shapefile. What else do we have to credit?
I believe that's everything.
Okay. Uh, it's good like that. I like this. Maybe we'll make the split ticket logo a little bigger.
Yes, I was thinking a little bit bigger, but otherwise looks good.
Right there. Yeah. Yeah.
Be quite honest, I don't really think there's much more that can be said. I think
As of
it is also approaching time for my retirement to reading.
oh, how do we do dates? Time? Maybe 22 Feb.
Yes, definitely the good date format, aka not what the United States uses.
Yes. Wunderbar.
But
Maybe one last check on Ozaki. Because I think. Oh, hey, they finished. Excellent.
it is ordained by Doug Mastriano.
Okay, very nice. Thank you, Ozaki County, for actually finishing the count. Let me check Racine and Sheboygan one last time, and then we'll fix the numbers, and then we'll call it a night.
Sounds good. In the meantime, I will format some South Carolina Ag Commissioner results. Tells you how old the atlas is, that it still requires text files.
Oh, no.
Yes, correct.
Oh, man. Okay. Racine County is still having technical difficulties, as is Sheboygan. Yep. Okay. Well, we'll call it that. 7,000 votes short. I thought I caught everything. Okay. Did Milwaukee?
It is always possible that Milwaukee or
Oh,
Dane.
I'll check Milwaukee and Dane one last time.
It is certainly a possibility.
Yeah, they added late arriving mail-in ballots that suspiciously skewed Democrat.
Well, there you go.
Well, good thing we checked. Data integrity is very good, and that helped out Democrats there. They're up to 68.5.
It's always good to check.
Results. Dane County actually did their job. We're close enough to the point where I'm like, oh, the thing we're missing is Sheboygan. And Sheboygan, well, the problem with the New York Times is they won't give you the actual county result. So I'm not allowed to add that.
They give you a nice rounded result.
Oh. I didn't know when you minimize the tab it wouldn't share. Sorry everyone. Final margins in Waukesha. 64.34 for the Conservatives and 35.66 for the Liberals. So that's R plus 29. No, 28.6. So middling performance, I would say, for a conservative candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What else do? Oh, yeah, the text. Now this is also a live mapping, live stream. That's yeah. Man, talk about shooting yourself in the foot. Okay, and that didn't change the bucket we're putting Milwaukee in. Looks like the map's ready to go.
It looks good.
Excellent. I don't know if I have access to the account.
Email it to me, and I'll post it. Email it to me with whatever you want me to write in the tweet, and I'll just put that in there.
Where the heck did I save it? I think I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it was also showing stuff on my desktop, and I'm embarrassed by that. No, you can't see what I named my files. Okay. Oh crap! Almost made a pretty big mistake. I had the what'd you call it? I had the frame as clear and not white, so it would have been see-through.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Or in this case, not wonderful, but. Oh.
The ticket presents a map showing aggregate. I think something's wrong with my methodology. Yeah, because Evers won with 3.4%, and my overperformance metric shows 1.7%, but the Democrats are actually up by just under 8%. So a better figure would have been 4.6%, and I don't know where I went wrong, but regardless, we can just look at the raw numbers. Showing the aggregate of vote share as predicted. So I've emailed you.
Okay, I'll take a look at it now, and we can post it. Okay.
That as of really covers our butts when if the margins or totals change because, well, we did our best.
Correct. Okay, I'm going right now to post it for you.
All right, thank you. And you can tweak the wording, but
I'm sure it's excellent. I'll just remove the quotation marks.
Oh, not the quotation marks. That's I didn't mean to. Well, I mean, I meant to include those, but
Well, no, I mean, I'm going to remove those. But
yeah, thanks.
okay, here we go. Posted. And with that, everyone, I believe we can now sign off. We've got to conserve our free StreamYard time for our next stream for Chicago. But thank you for watching. And Leon, it's been a true pleasure as always.
Been a pleasure too, Harrison. Have a great night.
Good night, everyone.
Or have a great Wednesday.
Yes, you too.